What's up, people? We're back. It's GameFace, episode 391 on SIFTD Games at SIFTD.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your co-host for the next couple hours of awesome video game discussion. And alongside me to do that today, as always, well, not as always, but now back, is Matt Keil. What's up, Matt? How are you?
All right.
How was your little vacay?
It was all right. Pretty good.
You went up north?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did the city change at all, San Francisco?
Oh, it's different now.
Yeah.
Van Ness is very built up. There's a train that goes through the middle of it now, which it wasn't there last time I was there.
That's insane.
We need more transit's good.
Yeah.
I knew about it because one of my friends worked on it, but like I just hadn't seen it before. It was cool. Very nice. Like, everybody's just walking their dogs everywhere. It's basically. And we saw one woman who didn't have her dog on a leash, and it ran right in the middle of Van Ness and almost got hit by a car. And then she had to run out and grab it. And then after like the light turned green, she let it go, and it just ran all the way up a block away from her, and like we never saw it again. And she sort of strolled up the block out of our view. And I'm like, what? What are you?
She must not care about the dog too much.
Not.
Yeah.
We're just kind of tired of walking that dog. Sounds like to me. But like, yeah, I don't know. It was good. Went to House of Prime Rib for the first time in like 20 years.
Yummy.
Good place.
It's really good.
We used to go there when I was very, very young, like 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that restaurant was probably like a special occasions restaurant in the Bay Area back in the day. Yeah.
Well, not really. You just go. Back in the day, it was just a restaurant. Nowadays, you gotta get the reservation like 6 months in advance, which wasn't always the case. Last time I was there was like 20 years ago, and we just walked in. Like it was not always like life wasn't always like this. It wasn't always just like anything you want to do is like 100 idiots in your way that it is now post-pandemic. I don't know what happened post-pandemic, but it's like that happens all the time now. You can't go anywhere and do anything, and this is a simple. Tell you on the drive up, coming out because I went up pretty in the morning. You try to beat the shipping the trucks and everything.
Yeah.
And be on the road during lunch so no one's out there. I was going up the 5, and I got, you do the thing where you're trying to pass the trucks, because, like, everybody in their fucking minivans forgets how to pass a truck, and so you've got this line of, like, 40 cars, and you're like, I'm just going to go all the way up to the bumper of the truck and just cut over, because I'm not going to wait an hour behind you idiots to get past. At one point, I got through kind of the latest knot of slow-moving traffic, and there was no one in my, the road was just open for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Like, no, it was past a couple of trucks. There was a couple of cars.
Pedal to the metal.
Hanging out in the right lane. And I just like it used to be back in the day. Just driving down the 5. No one's in your way. Like the world might have ended.
But
you don't know
but
yet.
You're going through the grapevine.
We didn't have any way to find out yet because there was no phone in the
cell
car.
Phones. Yeah.
Like it was just, and when I was younger, I would do that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, no one's on the road at night, so it's easier to do that. And my night vision worked because I was a child.
Yeah.
And you do that, you turn up, Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM and just be like, what if nothing's there when I get there? Kind of thing.
Existential problems.
All that weird, creepy shit that you think of in the middle of the night, in the middle of the desert where nothing's,
When you're worried that your car might break down.
Oh, yeah.
Or you get a flat
I never thought
tire.
of that when I was like 23.
Right, yeah. You're like, I'll be fine. I'll just
figure it out.
To a guest.
I got AAA.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are very happy to have Matt back. Obviously, he missed a bunch of E3, not E3 fun, Summer Game Fest fun.
I wouldn't say I'm missing it, Bob.
Well, we're going to give Matt a chance to relive it a little bit here on today's show. We're going to get Matt's takes on all of the not E3 madness that he missed out on. Also, very conveniently for us today, there was a big Nintendo Direct today. Basically, Nintendo's not E3 2024 press conference. We have all that stuff. I have been busting my butt, people. And all that stuff is loaded into the TriCaster and ready to give analysis for you guys today. However, you may have noticed that there's something sitting in front of Matt. You may wonder what it is. And I just got to say, Matt is one of the hardest people I've ever known to buy gifts for. He's truly the guy who has it all, and if you want something, you generally just buy it. So it's very hard to buy gifts for Matt, and it's something that I'm always looking for out in the world. I'm like, can I find something cool to get Matt? And I think I found something. And so, Matt, this is a present for you. I got you something for Christmas, I think it was, and you returned it or whatever, and since then, I've been trying to find something for you. I found it. It took forever to get it. And all I'm going to say is when you move that box, lift it straight up if you can. And go ahead and reveal what I've got you as a gift.
Is this...
Hold it up so people can see it.
The Elden Ring pot guy?
It is the Elden Ring pot guy. with a succulent inside it that I handpicked just for you.
Very nice.
Literally, all you have to do is you just put
Alexander, that's his name. Alexander.
Yeah. You put like a tablespoon or 2 of water in it per week, and that's all it needs. It's a succulent. Nice. It will eventually bloom. And I picked this succulent in particular because when it blooms, it is very Elden Ring. Or very From Software. I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
So you'll get a pleasant surprise when the thing blooms. And then also, there's a lid for it. But obviously I put the plant in it. So there's like a little lid that goes on it.
Oh, nice.
Here's your, your thing for that. You can hold that.
Probably not bad. You're not good for the plant.
Yeah, but remember, it's a succulent. Doesn't need a lot of water. Literally, just like a couple tablespoons a week, it'll do fine. It doesn't even need all that much sunlight. But I saw that. I had to order that from Turkey.
Yeah.
It took a month and a half to show up. The first one got here. It was broken.
Wow.
I had to send it all the way back to Turkey.
Yeah, I can imagine. The arms are pretty delicate.
And that's exactly what broke off. One of the arms had broken off.
Same with the... what was it? I have a statue. It's not a planter, but it's a statue of one of the Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus.
That's cool.
And a piece of armor breaks off it about once a year. Like when it showed up, it was the first one with the club.
Yeah.
When it first showed up, the club was broken off.
Yeah.
In the sealed box. So I glued it back. I glued that back on. When I moved, one of the shoulder pieces fell off. I glued that back on. At one point, I moved my arm past it and accidentally, because there's a tiny little wander. The tiny lady's holding the sword up, and I just brushed him, and he snapped off at his ankles. So I glued that back.
Right.
So that whole statue. If you ever see me try to sell that statue, don't believe me, because it's been broken like 15 times, and I've just cobbled it back together with Gorilla Glue.
Yep. Plants are great gifts too, because there's something that live on and on. Like I could leave LA, and you could still have that years and years from now, something to remember me by.
Well, you don't know me in plants. But,
yeah. Well, this I gave you low maintenance plant. Here you can see it.
We got
on camera there.
I got a succulent from Wade's wedding that lived for like 3 years.
Really? I mean, they'll live forever. Yeah. I've had succulents that have lived for like 15 years. But anyway, there you go. You can see it on camera a little better there. But anyway, it's been a long process to get that to you. Took me a while to find the right succulent for it that would fit and would overflow, because that's very important to the look of it.
Yeah.
I'm not an Elden Ring fan, but I knew Matt was, and I thought this was a great gift.
That's a good one. I didn't know this existed. That's rare. Yeah,
like I said, I'm always looking for stuff for you, because it's hard to buy you stuff. So I always, when people are like, here's a cool roundup of awesome gaming stuff or awesome, I look at all of them.
Yeah, well, the other problem is that it's partly my job to like know about everything. So it's like...
The folks on chat also seem to like it. Awesome gift, awesome present. That's honestly
I think
pretty
you're
awesome.
probably going to need to drop the link in the comments.
Yeah, I will when I get home. I don't have it handy, but I'll drop a link so you guys can get it too. It does take a while.
The Elden Ring folks are in a frenzy this week. You know?
Yeah, well, for a couple reasons. That's a nice segue to one of our stories in housekeeping, but there's one other thing I need to talk about before we get to that. I want to thank some people. So this past week, I have been building my new PC. This past weekend. It was a complete disaster. So, Matt, I was trying to, and I had Googled it and researched it, and people said you can totally do it. It's not a good permanent solution, but you can do it. And so what I was going to do was build a new PC. I got a new CPU, new GPU, new motherboard, and new RAM. And I was going to take the SSD that had Windows 10 on it and just drop it into my new build and then launch it, because I wanted to get Windows 11 for free. But I couldn't get it yet because my rig wasn't powerful enough, because there's like those requirements you need to upgrade for free. So I was like, I'll start with Windows 10. I'll go and do the check. They'll give me Windows 11 for free, and I'll download it. That ended up being the worst idea ever. It turned into 48 hours of just insane, like trying to boot it in safe mode. Oh, I booted in safe mode this time, but now it won't boot in safe mode.
It's configured to use the old hardware.
And my
always clean
God, I was jumping back and forth in my BIOS from UEFI to what's the old standard, CMAS or something.
Sounds right.
I was jumping back and forth between those.
In a long time.
Only in the CMAS could I get into safe mode, but then safe mode would work sometimes. It was a nightmare. And I just want to take a minute to thank people who helped me through it. Ultimately, most of it I ended up having to figure it out on my own. That's kind of the way building a PC always is. But Sifter Cinetike has been awesome. He literally, I would like send him a DM about something. He lives in like Europe, in Portugal or something. He would reply like 5 minutes later and try to help me on Twitter. I want to name these people: Kieran Olafson, Budnick, and Draylox. All three of you guys were awesome. I just want to thank all you guys for helping me. Here's how I finally got it to work, Matt. I just said, F it. screw it, I'll pay for Windows 11. I just went and bought a brand new SSD. I'm just going to do a clean install. And even that was a nightmare because you have to go and use this tool on Microsoft.com that helps create the ISO file to launch Windows 11. And I did the hard drive that I had Windows 10 on only had a gig of free space, and there was nothing left to delete on it. And I couldn't delete it anyway because I couldn't get to the hard drive. So basically, I had to jimmy with this program called Rufus. Have you heard of that?
No.
Well, it's this program that creates an ISO file. And what it did, it also, if I had been paying attention, it has a little thing where you check it, and it will help you get around the requirements for Windows 11. However, when it did that and ran that, it borked my Windows 10 and made it unregistered so that I could not, in fact, upgrade for free. Not only that, it took, Rufus didn't work right. I had to burn the ISO file 5 times before it finally, it was just a nightmare. I am glad I do this once every 10 years. I don't want to ever do it again. It's
the last time I built.
I've built 10 PCs. That's the crazy part.
PC was a gift, but the last time I built one was for Witcher 3, and I just had Morgan come over and help me, and that was very smooth.
Most of it's not hard.
Shouldn't be. Well, for that, that was long enough ago that I just had Windows 10 on disk on a seat on.
You can't
DVDs.
do that either. You can't get disk versions of them anymore. You can't just put it in the drive and have it boot. It was insane. But finally, I got Windows to boot, and now I'm discovering all the problems that come along with that. For example, I have had iTunes for the last 10 years. And in iTunes, I go in and tweak all my stuff. I rate all my songs. I make sure that they have the right album title. They have the right year. I've been doing this for 10 years with my gigantic music library. All that gone, wiped away. The new Windows Explorer in Windows 11 is awful. It runs so slow. If you go to a folder that has a lot of files and you try to sort it by date, it just won't. It'll sit there forever. It's not better than Windows 10. This always happens with Windows, but anyway.
This is why my Windows PC is just for games.
Yeah.
I don't use it for anything else.
I use my PC for everything. Yeah. And I will say this. So I got an i5 14500 CPU. I got a RTX 4070. I got a motherboard that's DDR5, and I got 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. And it is a beast. I started rendering video for this episode, and it was just zap, zap, zap. It's insane. I cannot wait to render GameFace tonight because I'm just telling you, it may be a case where I start publishing GameFace at night instead of having to wait until the next morning. That's how much faster this rig. Now, I wouldn't
be surprised.
I have not played a second of gameplay with it yet because as soon as I got it running yesterday, it didn't start running until the middle of the day, and then I was way behind on curating stuff for the site, and then I had to get the show together.
Yeah, you load some Cyberpunk up for yourself and see what that looks like.
I can't wait. Tonight is all about. I'm finally gonna get to enjoy the fruits of the money that I spent.
You look at Cyberpunk, you look at Hellblade, you look at Spider-Man. All good stuff.
Yeah, I'll find stuff to play. So anyway, if you're wondering why, as usual, usually we have a new episode of Pactor Factor that goes up this morning. That did not happen because of all this madness with my PC. It is finally fixed. Things are going to start changing. We're probably going to start doing a lot more 4K content. This PC can do a bunch, and it's all going to help you guys. It's funny, Matt. I realized when I bought this stuff for this PC, I had not bought anything for myself, for a year and a half. I just don't buy myself. As you get older, it's you kind of have everything you need or whatever. This was the first thing I bought for myself in a year and a half. And the last thing I bought for myself was a pair of shoes. So anyway.
Well, also you can write this off.
Yeah. You get a penny on the dollar or whatever, but it's better than nothing. Yeah. So anyway, it has been a nightmare. I don't know why people love PC. The crazy part, Matt, is I built my last PC 10 years ago. All the same problems are still there. There's this weird pin thing. We have to put these pins on this stuff just to operate the power button on your PC. That's still there. Yeah. Why is it still there?
Because it's been standardized for as long as we've been alive.
It's just so dumb.
It's electronics.
So anyway, I'm glad that's all over. I'm glad
you don't have to solder anything.
I didn't. That's actually a good point. I didn't have to solder anything. But anyway, I'm very happy with the new PC now that it's working. And again, it's going to pay dividends for our patrons and for our fans as well, as we'll be able to create more content, better content, all that kind of stuff going forward. And it will save me a lot of time just rendering everything. It's literally a fifth of the time it used to take before to render. So I'm very excited about that. But it was a nightmare. And again, I want to thank Cinetyke, Kieran Olafson, Budnick, and Dreylox. You guys were all awesome. You guys all helped me get over the hump at different periods, particularly Cinetyke. He even helped me kind of figure out with the amount of money that I had, what would be the best components to buy. So Cinetyke, you've been awesome, man. Thank you. I don't know if you're in the chat today, but
you're way to know because you're trolled up.
Oh, but you probably aren't because you were up so late helping me.
I thought I saw him, but
really?
I might have been imagining it.
I also need to go back up and thank all you guys for Twitch Prime as well here in a second. Is he in here?
I don't see him.
No, he's not in here. Okay. Well, hopefully he shows up, and if he does, I will thank him again. I've already thanked him a million times. Don Lionheart, thank you for Twitch Prime. Let me actually bring up the chat here so everyone else can see it.
I did enjoy that. Who was it? You have to scroll out more. I don't remember. It was one of our regulars.
Nolan Bozo Zone, thank you. Shane versus the Erd Tree. That is not happening. Yeah. Toast9, thank you for Twitch Prime. Can I have that plant pot? Nope, you're going to have to buy your own, Mike's Keil.
No, my brother, you must buy your own.
And again, I'll put a link in the archive on SIFTD, so if you guys want it, you can get it. Mega Drive Guy, thank you. Mike's Q, thank you. Not Cirque, thank you.
Andy T. Monahan earlier, he got flagged for bullying by the Twitch chat because he said Looney Tunes.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Galatas21, thank you. David Nordic, thank you. EmoClip20, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. If people were asking what's under the box. Fruit Eater, thank you. So much Twitch Prime today for the middle of the month. Too Quick Capri, thank you. And we just actually got our Twitch Prime payout like 2 days ago, and it's still way down. Like, Noxatornitis, thank you for Twitch Prime. It's still way down. It is literally like half of what we used to get per month.
Cinetyke had a work emergency. That's why I saw him.
Oh. Okay.
There's some kind of thing he had to deal with.
Gotcha. Well, he's awesome, and he helped me big time with building my PC. I don't know if I could have done it without him. Business says we skipped a week, so it makes sense that there are more. Yeah, that's true. One Super Master Gamer, thank you. Amy T. Monahan says that was the reason.
Yep, that was the flagged word was loony.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I guess you can't see it when it flags you, but we can here on our end. Let's see if anything else slid in here. I don't think so. The Abrams says, I also got a new rig, but I'm just playing Balatro on it. Mm-hmm. The Retro Modern Gamer says, did you get a 2.5-inch SSD or an M2? I got an NVMe drive. So I have Windows, and so my old SSD drive was only like 128 gigs, and that ended up causing so many problems. But Matt, when I got it, Windows was like 40 gigs.
Yeah, well, that was also about the size of an SSD.
That's about even that cost me like $200 back then.
Well, now $200 gets you like 4 terabytes.
Dude, I got that NVMe. I got a gig for like $60 at Best Buy. So I just put that in there.
Yeah. Well, all my storage on the new one is NVMe.
Yeah. My old, because you just screw it right into the motherboard now. It doesn't even use like SATA slots. And that is one thing I do hate as well about my new build. There weren't as many SATA ports. So I had to ditch like my Blu-ray drive. I had to ditch one of my hard drives that I use for storage because it only has 4 SATA ports, and my old motherboard from 10 years ago has 7.
That used to be it's like, look at all the ports you have, and I was like, no one needs ports.
I did because I use lots of storage for
physical media. Yeah. Ooh, what?
So anyway, if you're wondering why there's no Pactor Factor today, that's why. I hope you guys can understand. He'll be back tomorrow, though. Obviously, you got a dose of Pactor anyway with our Not E3 coverage, so hopefully that's good enough. But it has been a nightmare weekend for me getting this set up. I was so grateful because I knew work was coming on Monday. So as Sunday got there and it still wasn't working, the pressure was on. And I'm like, holy crap, I won't be able to work tomorrow if I don't get this thing fixed. And that's when I started like losing my mind. And I didn't get it finished until midday yesterday. And then you have to go through installing everything all over again because it's like a clean build. And so you forgot programs that you used all the time. You're like, oh crap, where did I even get that program?
What's your password?
Yeah, lots of stuff like that. So anyway, all to the good. Ultimately, it's going to make our content better. It's going to make my life better. And it'll make your lives better too. You'll probably be getting GameFace like late at night instead of having to wait until the next morning. We'll see how it goes tonight.
Or
this will be the first case test.
Europe.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for like all the life stuff that's been going on. Now let's get to our legitimate housekeeping here. Let me bring up our lower third for it. We're going to start things off with something that I thought would never happen. And when we discussed it before Not E3, Matt, I think both of us didn't think it was going to happen. But in an interview with IGN, Phil Spencer seems to be hinting that there is an Xbox handheld on the way.
I mean, if that's why they want to get their loss write-off this year, go ahead.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's coming this year, or maybe not even next year. But he basically said, like, yeah, that's something that we're really looking at. I don't know if it's a terrible idea, honestly. I mean, Steam Deck and the Rogue have sold better than I thought they would.
Steam Deck and Rogue sell that way because you can play your whole Steam library on them.
But is it the whole idea that they want people to get this handheld to use it for Game Pass?
Yeah, but like...
Because then they can also hook it to their TV.
It's just vastly more limited than what you get for the Steam Deck. Like Steam Deck plays anything just about. Like even stuff that isn't fully Steam Deck certified will still more or less work, kind of. They just won't be ideal. But like you're talking about a built-in library of your Steam library, which most people who I think are going to spend $600, $700, $800 on a handheld probably have thousands of games on that. That's a huge sudden built-in thing. But whereas the Xbox library, I mean, I'm sure people have a lot of games, but it's like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like someone. I mean, for the amount of money it's going to cost to put something worthwhile, at least put like a Series S into a handheld like that. For that amount of money, why wouldn't you just buy a Steam Deck? That's my thing. It's like
I think they're counting
limiting it to one with a one brand is a mistake. Unless they integrate Steam, which I cannot possibly see them.
That'll never happen. No, that won't happen.
Steam doesn't want that to happen, and Xbox.
Microsoft doesn't want that to happen. It wants its marketplace to thrive.
So I just don't. I don't see I don't see the point of attempting another handheld if you're Sony or Microsoft. It just it's
Sony, Microsoft's never tried one,
right? But like
unless you count like the Zune,
they're the smart ones,
right? They were the smart ones all along. Although it's worked out pretty well for Nintendo, but Nintendo has that pedigree,
right? But and Switch can do both, and
well, this will too.
Yeah, but it's just. I don't know. Unless you maybe this becomes the new S in the next generation.
It could.
It's like you either get the big beefy Series X equivalent or you get a handheld that switches.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they call it like the Game Pass something or other, even to just kind of hint to consumers like this is why we're making
the
this
Game Passage.
Seriously though, like I think it'd be something like that. And I mean, even like some of the other guys, like Asus, the Rogue Ally is doing pretty well.
The Xbox Passport, that's what they'll call it.
Yeah. Like, this stuff is more confusing to me. Like, why would Asus create, like, a competitor for the Steam Deck that's just going to use Steam?
I think Asus is just, I think they're aiming for something a little more affordable.
Yeah. Because that is a part of it.
Yeah. Like, the price is kind of key. Especially if you're talking about something. I mean, the Steam Deck thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me just because I don't understand why you want to play a game on an inferior screen in an inferior way.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's an inferior way to play a game.
Yeah.
If you have no other options, sure. But I'm also not someone who like sits on a train all day for commuting.
You don't commute.
I am not someone who feels the need to be playing a game at all times. Like I have books, I have
other interests,
other things to read. I have music. I have I don't always want to do that. I can watch a movie just fine on a plane. Even better because I might fall asleep watching.
You mean you don't want to
movie.
play Forza Horizon while you're waiting for your dinner to show up at a
Not
restaurant?
really, no.
Come on, Matt. What's wrong with you?
I also don't want to walk around with a fucking $700 thing in my pocket.
Right.
Like that could either get damaged or stolen. Like that just makes you a target.
Yeah,
really.
It really does. If you're sitting someplace using it and you get up to walk away, you better look over your shoulder.
Like if you outright can't play the games on a TV or something, like but that used to make more sense with something like the Switch or something like the gamepad on the Wii U or like a handheld system. But now it's like if you have the money to buy this, you have the money to buy a decent 4K TV for your room and just play that there.
Well, I mean, all of these are hybrid. They are handheld / can dock and play.
What I'm saying, if you the problem is like I don't have my own TV. I have to share a TV with people. For the amount of money you're going to spend on one of these handheld things, you could just buy a TV.
Because TVs have hit like rock bottom prices for good ones. Even
you get a pretty decent LG for $500-$600.
You can, yeah.
Especially if you wait for the right sale. But it's like I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. Like the amount of money it costs for the experience it offers just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah. And
you just limit it to only your Xbox library, and that makes even less sense to me.
Yeah. So anyway,
but at least they're not doing the Sony thing where you're like the Sony play PSP and the Vita and the VR and the VR2, where it's like, oh no, this library is going to be amazing. We're going to support this like crazy. It's going to be original stuff. Just absolutely. It's like, oh no, well, crickets. Okay, like after the launch window, we're done. That's it. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I know the Vita still had stuff going on, especially on the online store, but it was like real niche. Like if you wanted like the weird anime stuff, I guess there was a festival in there. But otherwise, it was like if you were expecting actual Sony productions to show up on that thing. It did not.
Yeah.
It just did not.
Yeah.
Even after they straight up said, "Oh, our mistake with the PSP was just doing
not supporting
inferior versions of PS3 games on this." So we're going to do. Oh no, you're going to do the same idea, same thing. Okay.
Because the reality, that's when the rubber hits the road. We have to dedicate the money to development for just that handheld, not knowing you're going to get a return on it. It's
Absolutely.
a risk.
And so, I mean, on that end, it's a better idea here because you don't really need to make games specifically for it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I'll never own one.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't either. I just own a console.
I mean, if you're going to make me buy a handheld gaming device at this point, it's going to be probably a Steam Deck. I would just throw it in the corner.
I mean, it's going to be Switch 2.
Well, yeah, but like I wouldn't even use that as a
handheld. Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know.
I was a little surprised to hear that Phil was like, we actually are. Like,
I mean, looking into it doesn't mean they're going to release it.
No.
I mean, they have to look into it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're doing R&D on it right now. Yeah.
You gotta see if it's a viable or a wise option, especially when you've proven that like there's such a huge market for a lesser powered thing in a more affordable category. And maybe if you can duplicate the biggest success of the generation, the Switch, and that functionality, maybe you've got something.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think games for older players.
Right. I mean, I don't think you do, but like, you got to research it. They got to look into it.
Microsoft can afford to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, as far as R&D goes, that's one of the least crazy ideas.
Oh yeah.
You could be
I mean, don't forget how much money they blew on the HoloLens.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars on HoloLens for nothing.
And all they had to do was put an Apple logo on it. It turned out. They could have sold it for $3,500.
Good one. I think they were trying to sell it for like $3,500.
It was up there. Yeah, it was way up there.
So anyway, an Xbox handheld could be on the way. I'd say it's probably 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
he sounded more than 50-50, but I think in reality, it's 50-50.
The way he said it was definitely we're looking in. It was more like, I have no doubt whatsoever, 100%, it's an active project in there behind those closed doors. But will we ever see it? Will it ever be the light of day? That's a different question.
Someone eventually has to sign the check, Matt.
Yep.
We'll see if it happens. Perfectly timed with my gift for Matt today. Today, embargo broke for the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree reviews. The same people who reviewed Elden Ring are reviewing the DLC, which I guess makes sense. And so therefore...
they got it because they got the save for it.
Right.
So.
And therefore, it has the perfect 10s across the board. And one thing that came out today...
I mean, one thing I will say is From Software fans are very judgmental. So if it wasn't getting perfect 10s across the board, you should be worried.
Right, yeah.
They would tell you if it sucked.
Yeah. And then it also came out this week that 2/3 of players who played Elden Ring have not met the requirements to play Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Yeah, this is the toughest requirement to access the DLC I think they've ever done.
Mm-hmm. Someone mentioned that there's apparently some boss that you have to beat that's way off the beaten path.
Yeah, there's two bosses, Moog and Radam. And Radam is a story boss, and Moog is an optional boss that you kind of got to find. Mm-hmm. I have beaten both of them, so I'm ready to get in there. I don't remember where Moog is. He's where you access it, because the thing that's left over when you kill him is where the DLC is.
That's where it starts.
That's where that orb with the arm hanging out of it comes from.
Gotcha.
But I'm like, because I found him by accident.
Oh, and just like beat him,
and I was like, oh, I mean, that was a magic build. You saw
I've seen your build.
He didn't last very long.
You just touched him, and he just crumbled to dust.
Just throw some boulders, fire the big beam, and that's there we go.
It's pretty much over.
That's the end of that. But so I have beat both of them. I actually loaded it up this week to check. I'm like, I beat those guys. I remember that. So yeah, I have not finished the game. I've not finished the final boss. But I am like everything else.
So you went back and checked on everything?
I went and checked, yeah.
Yeah.
And I leveled up some more, so now I'm level 210.
And you don't need to beat the final boss either, do you?
No, you just need to have beaten Mo and
So you're going to play it this week? You going to talk about it next week's episode?
I'll try it.
Okay.
I mean,
because I'm not.
Apparently, I imagine you have not beaten Mo.
I can't.
Yeah. I mean, apparly this thing is hard as nails.
Every review was like, if you think you're good, just wait.
Be like, I kept thinking of was every time they put out a new edition of Phantasy Star Online, and you'd have these characters that were just like rolling over the entire game, and then you'd load in the first level of the new game, and you're just like, we can't even hurt these things. Like the basic boomas are just fucking rolling us over. Like
today, I was eating my bowl of Raisin Bran Crunch for breakfast and pondering things, and I started wondering in my head, like, what things would I rather do than play Shadow of the Erd Tree? And slamming my hand in a drawer was one of them. That's something I would rather do than play this DLC. I have no interest. I can't play it, and I'm not going to miss the fact that I can't play it. So
You gotta scroll down.
To all the rest of y'all, I hope you have a happy Elden Ring week. I know a lot of you guys love the game, and I hope that you guys like it as much as the reviewers have. Fire Native, thank you for Twitch Prime. Is that the only new one? Yeah, I think so. Retro Modern Gamer says, SteamOS can't play all Steam games. It has to use a Windows to Linux wrapper. There's Handheld could run Windows and have an Xbox app and then allow Steam to be installed. Yeah, I mean, they could.
Yeah, you guess you could backdoor that way.
Justin Orman says, I still use my Zune HD. That's great. Okay. All right, I think that's it.
Rosencrantz.
What is he? Oh, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1, Rosencrantz. That's awesome, man. 51 months. 38-month streak. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Silk Snake says, I'd play it if I had a PC with cheats. Yeah, that's about the only way I'll play it, too. Is if I can use, like, perma-life cheats or cheats where you never die. I might still enjoy playing it that way, honestly.
Apparently it's relatively short, like 15 to 25 hours.
I saw reviewers...
Merely 25 hours.
I saw reviewers say it was like 30.
I would imagine for most people it'll be about that long.
So anyway, it's a beefy piece. And one of the reviewers said it's like they should have just sold it as a sequel. It's like a new game.
I mean, it certainly sounded like it could have been Elden Ring 2 if you wanted it to be.
Yeah. So anyway, the reviews went up. When does it release, actually?
That was the 21st.
Okay, so it's still got some time till it comes out. So you can go watch all those reviews as they're curated to SIFTD right now if you want to check them out. Yesterday they announced that a new Uncharted movie is coming. A second Uncharted movie. And meanwhile, we have no idea what's going on with the game.
No, I don't think we'll see another Uncharted game.
Isn't it crazy though that the video game franchise has died and the films continue on? And the
only good thing about the films is maybe if they keep making films, they'll finally bring 1 through 3 to the modern system.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a good point. But otherwise, it's hard to find much positive there. Mm-hmm. But another one's coming.
Yeah, I did play the PlayStation re-release of Clone Wars and Sly Cooper this week. Mm-hmm. They put those up, and they're fine. They're the load screens on Clone Wars are like 280p, 280i maybe. They're just like horrifying. Like
that's so easy to fix.
The copyright screen has artifacting on the borders. It's just amazing. And it's just amazing how like different things are, where it's just like, there's no way to adjust the controls or change anything like that. There's no brightness controls on Sly Cooper, so a bunch of the levels are too dark to almost see anything in.
You will play the way we told you to play.
You can rewind.
Game.
So there's a rewind feature like classic games have. So every time you get hit by a cheap thing in Sly Cooper, you just rewind. I was like, nope, not doing that. Because I forgot that like he dies in one hit.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of games used to be that way.
Yeah, unless you have the Lucky Charm thing. Every 100 coins, you get an extra hit point.
Those were the days. Maybe not the good old days though.
I mean, Sly Cooper, it's still good. Like the visuals still hold up pretty well because of the art style.
Yeah, it helps.
It's just it's a shame that this may be just how we get these, in these sort of, like everything's postage stamped in the cutscenes because it's all, PS2 era level. It'd be nice to get like a real full remastered, like nice collection of these games. And the Ratchets and the Jacks and the Resistances and the God of Wars.
Probably never
happening. Probably not. Like, I'm honestly shocked they haven't done that with God of War.
Yeah.
Like God of War feels like it's, you've got the 2 collections you could do. You could do it 1 collection if you wanted. Like I feel like that would be a worthwhile use of their time.
Yeah.
I can understand why they don't want to really deal with some of the old platformers. Although Ratchet feels like you'd at least want the PS3 trilogy.
Yeah.
Saved from that stupid console, right?
That's a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
We'll see if it happens. That's more likely, I think.
Yeah.
Than reviving these old PS2 games with remasters or remakes.
Yeah, but the Infamouses are stuck on there. It's a shame that all that stuff is.
Thanks, Ken Kutaragi.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was.
Good work, Cyber World. Now you're all trapped in the fucking Matrix.
Yep. Next up, Todd Howard, the head of Bethesda, has been a busy guy this week. First of all, he was shocked to learn that it had been 6 years since they released the first trailer for the Elder Scrolls 6. Someone told him that, and he was like, what?
I get the very strong impression he didn't want to do that.
Maybe.
Back then.
Maybe. So he talked about that. He talked about how even though the Fallout is like huge right now, like today there's like a Call of Duty cross Fallout collaborate. Like everything is collaborating with Fallout. So he said despite that, the fact that Fallout's bigger than it ever has been.
I ran into people up north who had watched Fallout and did not know it was a video game.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's basically, like, oh, really? Wow, I didn't realize.
Maybe I might play a video game for once.
One of them, I'm not kidding, said, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, touche.
Okay.
I'm not going to disagree with you. And I mean, come on. We just talked about the Uncharted movie. We know the score. It's fine.
Yep. So anyway, they started talking to him about the next Fallout, and he's like, "We're not going to rush the next Fallout just because everybody's loving Fallout right now." And then they started asking him, "Well, what about like the first 2 Fallout games? What about maybe like remaking or remastering those?" And he just straight up said, "No,
no, they won't. They won't touch those."
He's like,
so you can think whatever you want about Todd Howard, but one thing is definitely true about Todd Howard: he is not stupid.
No,
and there is nothing to gain from touching Fallout 1 and 2 because those weirdos are going to scream at you for the rest of your life.
Well, his perspective, maybe that's why he really didn't want to do it, but his perspective is that those games have a very specific charm because they're old.
Yeah.
And
you can play them. I mean, they're available on Steam and GOG, and you can play them just fine.
Yeah.
There's no reason to really remake them.
Yeah. So that's never happening. And I kind of agree with him. Like, if you try to make them for modern platforms, they'll just lose their charm, I think. They are games of the time.
The tone of those 2 games is very different from how Bethesda approaches the material, and it just wouldn't translate.
Yeah. So if you want to play Fallout 1 and 2, you're going to have to dig them up on Good Old Games or some other service, and there's lots of them that have them. So if you really want to play them, you can find them.
Steam has all the Fallouts, except I think Brotherhood of Steel, which I don't think that came to PC.
I don't think Game Pass has the first 2 yet, though.
Probably not because they're PC only.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're like $2.
Yeah. Yeah, but with Game Pass, you kind of want the whole library on there, but maybe someday.
What are you gonna do?
Yep. And then our final piece of housekeeping. Yes, our housekeeping is shorter today because the bulk of our show is gigantic. Also, there just wasn't any news aside from the main topics we're discussing today. And then the final topic for housekeeping is Life is Strange Double Exposure, which was just announced during the not E3 period. Did you check this out at all across all the different? It was in like 2 different things, I think.
I mean, I saw it, and I think the Xbox one.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I saw it.
Well, people were confused. So this game actually looks really awesome. Like basically, her friend dies, and she has to. You don't like the concept of it?
I don't trust Max in the hands of Don't Nod.
Oh, okay. I can understand that perspective.
The fact that this isn't being made by Don't Nod makes me extremely wary.
Yeah, it's made by Deck 9.
Not that there's anything wrong with Deck 9, but
if you're going to find another studio to make it, Deck 9's the one.
Probably, but you could just make another Life is Strange and not mess with the original character. What you're about to mention is part of my concern.
Okay. Well, the concept of the game is her friend dies, and then she goes into an alternate universe to go back in time to try to rescue her before she's killed, basically. I thought the concept sounded pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as last time in some ways, but except with dimension. Basically, the multiverse fad incorporated into the pitch.
Yeah.
Instead of time reversal.
Yeah. But anyway, the reason this is in the news, other than the fact it was debuted this week, is that Deck 9 said that they are not considering any of the endings from the first game as canon, but this game will work thematically no matter which of the 2 endings you got from the first game. And see, how do you do that?
You say that and it's bullshit.
Really?
That's how.
I'm wondering. I'm like, how do you pull that off? Yeah,
you can't. Like... Max would be a completely different person based on which of those 2 endings.
Yeah.
And the idea that one script would handle that character based on both of those outcomes is literally ridiculous.
Or that she would end up in the same place no matter which way the other game ended.
Not plausible.
Yeah,
You should pick a canon ending, and I know which one I would pick.
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Yeah, I agree.
There were comics that continued the thing, and they picked an ending. They went with it.
Yeah.
You cannot have Max be the same person. No
matter what happened at the end of the game.
That doesn't make any sense.
There's no way she gets to the same place however many years later based upon the 2 different endings.
The 2 different endings are so thoroughly different.
Yeah.
And so thoroughly incomparable in terms of the magnitude of what she does.
Yeah.
That it doesn't make any sense.
It's hard to compute.
Yeah. You can't bridge that gap with a couple different, you can't do that BioWare style and just be like, this line says that, the hero of Ferelden died, and this line says the hero of Ferelden wandered off and found their own destiny. It's not that simple. This is, especially in such a character-driven series, and the whole point was, it makes the first game feel kind of irrelevant if you do it that way.
I am interested to see how they try to do it.
I mean, morbidly interested would be my reaction.
It's like a train wreck type thing.
It's like one of them I think you could get away with sort of not really addressing it too hard. But the other, I don't see how.
I don't either.
I don't
And I know exactly what you're talking about. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this is the first time this has ever happened, to my knowledge, in games, where they decided to not pick one ending and try to make both of them multiple.
I mean, maybe
work.
they're going to use some kind of multiverse shenanigans to try to get around that. But like,
it's like I said before, the multiverse lets you bail out of anything.
But that still means picking a canon max to start with.
That's true. Yeah.
So what are they talking?
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I hear you. So anyway, that's a little weird, to be honest with you. I was kind of surprised to get that news.
Yeah, and I mean, but also they made Before the Storm, and Before the Storm sucks. So like, like maybe they're just gonna not pay attention to that aspect of it, which is kind of how Before the Storm worked. So
I didn't think Before the Storm was. I didn't think it sucked.
I didn't like it.
It wasn't as good as.
It definitely wasn't as good. And it just I don't. That the version of Chloe they build up in that game does not match up into
it doesn't seem real.
The character in the original life.
I agree.
Like I don't buy it. And so again, we're kind of doing that backwards now.
Yeah.
Like I don't if you think both endings can be addressed by the same script or the same game with the same depiction of Max, I'm beginning to believe you maybe just don't know how characters work.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, that is coming out.
If I were them, I would definitely have not said anything about that. About which
really?
Ending. I would have just, if that was how I decided to roll with it, I would have just been like, you'll have to play the game to find out.
I didn't take down the release date for that. I think it's coming this year.
It's this year. I think it's September or something.
It's not too far away. Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
September, it's fall. I know that.
Yep. So anyway, that's the latest on the new Life is Strange. We'll see how it all plays out. And we're about ready to get into the bulk of the show. We're going to kick things off with our analysis of the Nintendo Direct that just happened a few hours ago. But before that, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. I'll tell you what, this weekend, building that PC, I literally wanted to chug a bottle of LS Cream, man. I was so pissed off and angry. I was like, cordoning myself away from my wife. I'm like, I don't want this anger and this frustration to bleed over and ruin her weekend. And I was just like, man, I was like, I wish I had a drink. But then I knew if I had a drink, it would just make everything worse because I'd like miss something or do something silly or whatever. So I did abstain from LS Cream while building my PC.
Drunken thermal pasting is no way to go through life.
That was the other thing too. I took out my processor and the thermal paste, like they come pre-pasted, smeared all over my hand. And I had to like reapply, and thermal paste is like it's hard to get it exactly right. I did somehow, but I was like, oh no, it was just one thing after another. I really wanted some LS Cream this weekend. That's what I'm saying. You should want LS Cream all the time. To make that happen, go to creamls.com/sifted. Make sure you use that URL. Go there. You can figure out where to get it. If you're in an emergency like I was in this weekend, use creamls.com/sifted to find the closest place where you can rush out and get yourself a bottle of LS Cream. Again, very distinctive bottles, very easy to find in a liquor store. Head to your local spot, get yourself a bottle of LS Cream. If you want to find it again, go to creamls.com/sifted. And with that, it's time to get on with the bulk of the show. We're going to kick things off with analysis of the Nintendo Direct that just happened this morning. The final cherry on the top of not E3/Summer Game Fest, whatever the hell you want to call it. It seems like that's the pattern now. Last year, Nintendo waited till the 21st. This year, they did a little bit earlier, a little bit closer, really just kind of the week after. Everybody else did their thing, and Sony did it the week before. So things are tightening up a little bit as far as like making it all happen within like a 2-week period now instead of a 5-day period. That's a little better than it was where it dragged out for the entire month of June last year, at least I think. The stuff that Nintendo showed today, it was like a 40-minute long presentation, was all stuff, at least before it happened, was supposed to be all stuff that was coming out before the end of the year on Switch. But as it turns out, we got something really awesome as a bonus that is not coming out in 2024, Matt, and that is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Yes.
20X9. Very important that you know it was 9, but we can't tell you what decade.
Right, that's really weird. New ship. She has a new ship. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I noticed in this trailer.
It's hard to get a ship when you have to find the ship that has your head as part of the design.
The visor, yeah.
That's why it took so long for me to find the Audi I wanted.
Yeah. That's funny. It also reveals a villain. Some people have some ideas on who the villain might be. But he has like 2 Metroids that hover over his shoulders or whatever. It appears to be the main bad guy for the game. Not 100% sure about that yet. Looks like Metroid Prime. I don't see any gimmicks.
No, it looks like less gimmicks than last time, honestly, since they, the third one forced me to play with a stupid Wiimote.
You got the scanning. I mean, my guess is you'll be able to play with a Wiimote if you want to, with motion controls.
I'll never know.
I mean, I will play it with motion controls. I like playing shooters with a pointer. So I will if they offer it, and my guess is they probably will. But my
guess would be they offer gyro aiming. I don't think they'll let you use a Wiimote.
Well, not the Wiimote. They'll let you use Joy-Con as if it's a Wiimote. Yeah. I'm not saying they'll actually let you use the Wiimote, but they'll let you point to aim, I think, anyway. I hope they do, because I like it.
It's probably Dark Samus.
You really think so?
I don't know. Didn't she have a clone running around?
Yeah, I mean, that was the entire Metroid Prime 2 was all about her clone. Yeah. 2025. So I was so close, people. I drafted it on my fantasy team, and I'm just going to miss it. I took it with that 10th pick, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, man, they're showing it. Maybe it's going to come out in Q5. No.
That is a next system game.
And I think that this may end our fantasy league for the year.
And it makes me think something about what they're going to call the new system.
Yeah, actually, share your hypothesis on that, Matt.
I don't think the subtitle of this game makes a lot of sense.
It doesn't. There's no... At least in this trailer.
So I'm going to say there's a 30% chance that the new system is the Switch Beyond.
Okay.
And they're going to do the DS thing where everything has to be called blank Beyond.
Or the 64 thing. Yeah. Where everything had to be whatever 64 for the first 2 years.
Well, I always think more of the DS because calling something whatever 64 made a lot more sense because it was like it indicated that it was the N64 version. It indicated we were in the new generation. The 64-bit it was still when we were talking about bits, so it kind of implied it was more powerful than the last one you played. The DS thing just was silly. It was just like Dawn of Sorrow, stories. It was like everything had to have like an acronym. Thing that became a DS acronym.
Yeah.
Rub Rabbits had one of those things. Yeah. So, but like maybe it's called the Switch Beyond and a bunch of you're gonna have Mario Beyond and all that.
It's possible. Yeah, it's totally possible. I mean, look, they named a console the Wii. They could call it frickin' anything at this point.
I mean, I still say I still think it should be called the Super Nintendo Switch.
What's up with the Erd tree, Matt? At the end there.
That's just Avatar influence.
I mean, seriously though. I mean, that's a big X factor. That gigantic tree that they show at the end.
That's a home tree. She's on Pandora.
I think if I had a criticism of this, it's that there's no surprises. I know that's a positive for you.
I mean, to me, it's a surprise that it exists. I'm not at this point. It's like, hey, you can just do a Metroid Prime game. Great, let's get on with it. Like, don't reinvent the fucking wheel. Just give me Samus in first person scanning shit.
I mean, that pretty much feels like that's what it is.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Like, let's get on with it. Like,
have you noticed?
At this point, let's bring it out and start working on another Metroid game. Like, just get on with it.
Have you noticed that the Metroid Prime
How many fucking Kirby's games have we had in the meantime we've been waiting for this shit?
9 or 10.
There's always a Kirby game.
Yeah. Have you noticed, Matt, that the lighting in Metroid Prime games is very distinctive?
Yeah.
I don't know how Retro does it, but you can show me a screenshot of its environment. I know instantly that that's a Metroid Prime game. Mm-hmm. There's something about the way they light their scenes.
There is a flavor to it. And it's weirdly still reminiscent of the GameCube.
Yes, absolutely.
Just looking at this footage, you're like, it kind of looks like a nice looking GameCube game.
It does,
yeah. You know, obviously it couldn't run on the GameCube, but there's even the way the fire lights things is a little retro.
Yeah. So this is coming in 2025. And here's another shot of the tree that I was talking about a minute ago. Like, I have no idea what it's supposed to be, but it definitely plays a big part in the game in some way.
I mean, I think it's just like the central tree of the living brain of the world, or something. It's got to be an Avatar thing. You know that.
Yeah.
She's probably going to jack into the tree with her fucking gun like she does everything else.
But I think most people agree with you. They just want a plain Jane Metroid Prime game, and that's what you're getting here.
And I'm sure there's some weird new thing she can do.
I hope there is.
Like, there's always something like that.
Yeah.
Just hope it's not as obtrusive and out of place as the Emmy stealth scene crap.
Do you think this is coming at Switch to launch, or do you think they'll launch it for Switch and then wait a little bit?
Nah, it's a launch. I think it's a launch game.
Yeah, for both generations.
Yeah, I think you will have this and a new Mario at launch.
There should be a bunch of games ready. We've talked about Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, those two are my big. Either Mario or Mario Kart, and this will be launched.
This is definitely gonna be a launch. It'll be there at launch for Switch 2 for sure. I just wondered if they would put it out for Switch earlier and then wait for Switch 2.
I think if they were going to do that, they'd put it out this year.
Okay. Which would have saved my fantasy team.
It would have. But the fact that they say next year and they don't give an actual date.
It could be Q4 of next year.
I think it's going to be whenever the Switch is.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We really don't know. So anyway, that's Metroid Prime 4. We finally got a look at it. Actually, I want to take a look at chat here. We've waited so damn long for this. I want to see what you guys think of it. Vincent says, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Q1 and Switch 2 is Q2. So he's saying maybe a split release. Fire Native just ruined for Noxator Knight. It says Samus is a woman. Oh gosh, spoilers. Spoilers. No Kirby game in this direct. Vincent says.
Noxator turned to us talking about like how all the chuds are going to be mad that she's a girl.
Oh, because they don't know.
Because they don't play anything. I mean, man, the people whining about the Star Wars Acolyte series, when you even slightly engage with them, you're like, oh, you haven't watched it. You don't know anything about what you're just regurgitating what you were told by YouTube grifters.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, we lost our, somehow we lost our net input for chat. I don't know how. That's never happened before. But you remember last time, like, the stream got funky in the last episode? I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. You brought it up earlier, right?
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but we lost it somehow. There we go. All right, let me bring you guys in now. Now you're there. Well, I was scrolling up to see if people were commenting about the game. Vincent says, no Kirby game in this direct. Yep. Retro Modern Gamer says, at least it's not Metroid Other M. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a bonus. DS dog shit, says the Retro Modern Gamer. NT Monahan says, would they risk having people just switch the words around to say BS?
Yeah.
I mean, people would definitely do it. Vincent says the theory is that the portals are for time travel. Something he's talking about.
I mean, they named the Wii after P. I mean, you just come on.
Sure F, thank you for Twitch Prime. I hope you're good, man. I remember last time we talked to you, you said you had been laid off on your job. I hope you found a new gig. Fire Native, yes, I did talk about my PC build. It was a disaster. Noxator Knight says, picturing Shane building his PC like Homer Simpson built his grill. Yeah, I mean, I've built like 10 PCs. The funny part is that like PCs have not evolved. They're still the same. Building a PC is exactly the same today as it was 10 years ago. Literally nothing has changed. They've not made it more user-friendly or nothing. A lot of the instructions you get, because a lot of these products are made in Asia, where the people are like, English is a second language. A lot of the instruction manuals they give you are just pictures that don't explain anything. It was just putting the CPU on the motherboard. One thing that they have changed, I should mention, is the CPU on the motherboard, instead of like screwing it in, now there's this system where you like pop these things through the motherboard and twist them. 3 of them went in fine. The 4th one would not go through. I had to jimmy with it for an hour to get the damn thing to go through. I could have just screwed the damn thing in the motherboard like they used to be. It actually got worse than it used to be. Anyway, I'm glad I only do it once every 10 years. I don't want to ever do it again. I had my fill. So anyway, it seems like most people are on the same vibe with us for Metroid Prime 4. People are like, okay, it looks like a dyed-in-the-wool Metroid Prime game.
Yeah.
Nothing.
There are no bad surprises. Yeah. Like, it's not a fucking dance game, or you're not going to have to, like, spin the ring fit thing to, like, make a roll in a ball or something. You
don't have to do push-ups. Why?
Yeah, like, good. Just a fucking video game. Good.
It does look that way. So anyway, pretty excited about that, but we got to wait until 2025 to play it. Next up, a brand new Legend of Zelda game. Not only that, Matt, is it a new Zelda game? It's coming out on September 24th. That's pretty much madness. Like, when was the last time they announced a Zelda game and it came out like 3 months later?
I feel like the Link's Awakening remake was pretty close.
That's exactly when that's the only other time. And my guess is this was built by the same team using the same engine. Because it looks
like the same assets.
Chibi art style, kind of 3/4 isometric camera angles.
Which is fine. Like, as long as you have that, you should take advantage. Like, this is a good way to get some traditional Zelda games out.
Yep. Yes, this is more of a traditional top-down style game, but it's anything but traditional because... For the first time ever, instead of playing as Link...
Well, for the second time.
Good point.
But we don't talk about that.
Right. For the second time ever, instead of playing as Link, you play as Princess Zelda rescuing Link. Hallelujah. Finally, Nintendo has turned the tables and done something people have been asking for a really long time.
Except...
So you think, Zelda, finally, not the damsel in distress. And then you find out that they basically nerf her from all violence.
Yeah, she's not allowed to hold a sword. In my head, the Zelda play as Zelda game was always like, you know, she basically puts on the outfit she has on in Breath of the Wild and does, like, chic stuff.
Yeah.
You know? But this is like that whole... I mean, Peach... It's sort of like the first Peach game where it's like she has to do... girly versions of things. And I know they're saying it's like us because she has the Triforce of Wisdom, so she doesn't fight directly. She like solves. It's like, yes, only the truly wise could stack 14 beds up against the castle wall and jump into the castle that way. It's just like it feels like a cop out to me.
Yeah. So this game,
like, it looks cool. Like, I think that shot of her on top of the cliff looking out on the, like, that's really neat. But it's like instantly it became like dumb puzzly shit. The game, it's like
feels like a puzzle platformer.
It is. I think it is. I think that it's a puzzle platformer and a little bit of Pikmin.
Yeah,
because you're sending out, you can clone the enemies and send them out to fight for you, and it's just like, what was wrong with just having her
give her a sword?
Yeah, having her be Zelda in a Zelda game.
Yeah. So basically what it is she has the ability to summon items, and you can see here it's like household items like tables and chairs and beds.
Very domestic.
But why can't she just summon a sword, Matt?
I don't know.
She can also, so you're like wondering, well, how does the combat work? Well,
she can throw rocks at things, but she can't hit something with a stick.
Right.
It's like, okay.
But here's the thing. She can summon other enemies who will then use swords.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's I'm sure it's fine, and I'm sure there will be clever things in it, but, like, this was disappointing to me. As soon as I realized what they were doing with it, I'm like, oh.
I mean, I'm glad she
like,
got her own game.
I wanted a chic game, basically. I'm like, Zelda has a pedigree going back to 1990, 25 years as an action hero in secret, and a game that finally lets her be an action hero, like, out front as the main protagonist would have been really cool. And instead we get this, you know, Princess Peach DS shit. Peach did more action and fighting in her most recent in Showtime this year than she's doing here. It's just maybe the next one we'll get to do chic stuff. I
mean, she still is getting her own game, so that is a step forward.
It's just like it doesn't. Like, this isn't going to scratch the Zelda itch for me. This feels like a indie game. Like, it feels like a game that could have been just like a random indie game that's Zelda inspired, except you use this summoning clone gimmick to do stuff, and that's that's cool. Yeah, and it's not like it's a bad idea.
I think it could end up being a pretty good game. But I hear you. Like, waiting this long for a game where Princess Zelda is the star, and this is kind of the role that she gets, is disappointing.
Yeah, it's just it screams that Nintendo thing of, like, there has to be some weird new gimmick to justify making the game. Plus, it's kind of got, like, Tears of the Kingdom for babies.
Yeah,
kind of sort of thing happening here. You know, it's like, oh, the new Zelda thing is just summoning crap or building thing. It's like I don't know. Like, I don't understand why crises in Hyrule have to constantly end up in carpentry. Like,
well, she has other echoes too. Like, she can create like columns of water that she can then swim through. So it sounds like it starts to get pretty complicated. Hopefully, it doesn't get so complicated it becomes convoluted. There's a fine line to walk there.
Yeah, especially because like
this shot right here is pretty impressive.
Great.
Yeah,
it does seem like a follow up to Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
And Link's Awakening, while it's not, like, simplistic, is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
And it would be a shame if this kind of gets bogged down and, like, overcomplicated, like, And I'm also very curious about the controls and the speed of switching between things, and if you can, you have all these things. I haven't even counted how many things you can get copies of. Okay, well, how do
There's
I
hundreds
switch
of
between
echoes,
those?
they said. Yeah.
How do I
well, they showed you. They showed that menu that popped up. It looks
stuff.
like Zelda, where you have to like go side to side through like a million things to select whatever you want to put on your bow.
Yeah,
and...
I mean, I assume you're gonna be able to customize that menu with like a certain. It's probably like 9 things you can equip at one time or whatever.
To hot swap,
but
whatever.
It's just like, oh, that's gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, also, I thought it was funny that she meets a fairy called Tri, and she gets the tri wand. Was it the tri wand or the tri staff? Yeah. And it's just like sounds like
the tri rod. It's a tri rod.
Tri-rod. We're gonna try. I don't know. I mean, I know it's tri force, but it's like it just feels like, why don't you get the do rod?
Vincent says the overlook shot also maps pretty directly to the link to the past map. Not surprised there at all. Mike Q says, my only worry is that this is the closest we will get to a semi-linear Zelda traditional adventure. That could be.
For a while, I think. But also, like, it really seemed in the wake of Tears of the Kingdom that Aonuma doesn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So I feel like the next Zelda might be more traditional than we think.
I hope. Retro Modern Gamer says they should have just made a Link to the Past with this engine instead of this Zelda-like game. Yeah. I still think the game could be good. I understand that, there's context around the characters that are in the game. One thing that Aonuma said is that no two players will ever play the game the same way because you can use all these echoes in so many different ways. So I'm excited to play it. I do understand the perspective of we waited all this time for Zelda to take the leading role and they nerf her basically and make her the traditional female role in video games. But I still think the game could be really good. So I'm still excited for it. And the crazy part, coming September 24th.
It's cool that it's this year, so we don't have to deal with it for very long. So we have to sit around for a year seeing new trailers for this thing in every direct. So at least it'll be over soon.
I mean, literally, it's like 3-4 months away. Yeah. So, it'll come up real quick. September 24th, again, it's called The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. And it's, as far as I know, it's only Switch.
I don't know what else it would be.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Switch 2. I am wondering if
everything will run on Switch 2. It's not going to be.
I'm just wondering if, as they're making this last round of Switch games, if they're all being built so that they easily slide right to the Switch 2.
I am 100% certain that every single Switch game will work on the Switch 2.
I believe that too, backwards compatibility, but I mean like an enhanced look.
I don't know what you'd enhance on this.
Yeah,
like it looks fine.
It looks fine.
About as good as
it doesn't look great, but it looks fine.
It's gonna. What else do you want?
Yeah, I guess higher res textures and
you're never gonna get that.
Not until Switch 2. That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't. That's not gonna help.
I'm just wondering if they maybe build higher res textures for Switch 2.
I don't know. I mean, most Nintendo games going back to the Wii have higher res textures than the systems can even display. So maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Mario Galaxy running through a dolphin.
It's pretty amazing.
That thing looks way better than even the Wii U could make it look.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows what they pack in there?
Yep. Next up, the third brand new game from Nintendo in this Direct is Mario and Luigi Brothership. This is also coming this year. It comes on November 7th. It's basically the next in line of the turn-based RPG Mario and Luigi franchise. The synopsis...
Which overall, I would say has been stronger than the Paper Mario franchise, even though they're kind of cousins. We were just talking about these when Paper Mario got its remake. It's a pleasant surprise, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Here's a synopsis Nintendo sent me.
Usually very funny, too.
Yeah, they are. The writing's usually really good. The synopsis Nintendo sent me says, set sail on Ship-Shape Island, part ship, part island, to navigate the vast world of Concordia. Play as a mustachioed pair and explore islands that range from tropical rainforests to bustling cities. Along the way, meet new friends to help you on your journey and encounter familiar faces from the Mushroom Kingdom like Peach and Bowser. Keep the quote-unquote brothership afloat and rely on Mario and Luigi's bond to save the day by employing bros moves to get past obstacles and powerful bros attacks to claim victory in a dynamic twist on turn-based combat. So turn-based combat returns. I guess those are supers, and they're just calling them bros.
They also look like co-op moves, like this thing here, or like even in the main world, like there's a thing where they spin around together and become like a UFO, like a flying saucer or something.
The one thing too about this series is in the past, this was a series that was on Nintendo's handhelds instead of their consoles. Now it's the same thing. So now we're getting Mario and Luigi games for Nintendo's console, which is great to see. just further proof 7-8 years on down the road that the Switch was the right move to make. It used to be that have some other team making these games. And
if you had a console or a handheld running alongside the Switch, this would be on that.
Yeah,
and you would have a drought for the Switch.
Yep. Again, just another clear example of why creating a hybrid platform was the perfect solution for Nintendo. Again, this comes on November 7th. The end of the year for Switch is going to be awesome. It really is, but
kind of low key. There's no like big heavy hitters really, but there's plenty to do.
I'm sure Nintendo considers a new Zelda game as a big hitter.
Well, okay. I mean, but again, if this wasn't a handheld hybrid, that would also be on the handheld.
No, you're right. It would be.
So
yeah. And then we start getting into some third-party stuff and yet another remaster from Nintendo. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. So this game was originally on the Wii, and then they did a 720p version for the Wii U, which technically is already HD. And now they're doing a 1080p version for Switch. They're ringing.
They're getting their money's worth out of this one. It's not even coming till January. I was a little shocked by that.
Yeah,
like,
you
really?
figured this one would be coming out like next week or something. But is Retro making this? In addition to Metroid Prime 4?
I would be shocked if Retro was spending their time on
Yeah,
it.
I feel like they probably farm this out
easy.
Yeah, to somebody. Because the code, they've already...
Where's Tropical Freeze? Like, it seems... I mean, maybe after this, but like Tropical Freeze seems like the one to carry forward.
My guess is it'll maybe switch to... It's coming. I mean, at this point, there aren't many Nintendo 3D games from the Wii U that are left to remake or remaster. That's probably the only significant one left. What was the Mighty 42 or something? What was that one?
The what?
Yeah, it was the one where you controlled all those little dudes.
The Wonderful 101?
Yeah, the Wonderful 101. Yeah. That one they haven't remade yet.
Yeah, they have.
Did they remake it? Or did they just re-release it?
They did a Kickstarter to put a Switch version out.
Yeah.
And I have the Switch version.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was years ago.
So there's not many. Yeah, there's not many games left for them to remake from the Wii U. They pretty much milked that entire catalog at this point. So Donkey Kong Country Returns is great, by the way, if you haven't played it. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But as Matt said, it does not come out until January 16th. They got to do something until the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing here.
Fill the space.
Yep. And another space filler is
Where's my Mario Galaxy 2 update?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, actually. Oh, I forgot to load the trailer for this next game, I think. I did, yep. So I don't have the trailer, so I can't show you here live, but I'll have it in the archive. Another filler, so to speak, for the next, 8 months of Switch releases is a brand new Mario Party game called Super Mario Party Jamboree. That is coming on October 17th. It's the next mainline Mario Party game. It includes over 110 mini-games, which is a lot. 7 different game boards. 5 of those are new, I think, and 2 of them are from other older games. And then 20-player online multiplayer. That is something that should have been in Mario Party for forever. But it's not like every mode plays with the 20 players. It's like a very specific option for 20. So it's not like you can play the traditional board games with 20 different people at once. I think those are probably still down to 4 or whatever.
Yeah. The mini games are designed to be what they are.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to,
the Mario Party games are always weirdly limiting in that way.
Yeah. So we'll see what that 20-person mode looks like ultimately.
Well, someone will see. I won't.
And that is coming on October 17th of 2024. So that's not long to wait for that one either. And then we start getting into some third-party stuff. Maybe the biggest surprise, or maybe at least the coolest-looking third-party game that I saw, is Dragon Quest III. HD, 2D, HD. Basically, they've taken what used to be an early Dragon Quest game and turned it into a game that now uses the art style from Octopath Traveler. What's the other Square Enix game that uses that art style?
There's several. There's a Triangle Strategy. There's another one, too.
Yeah, there's one other one I'm thinking of that uses this art style. And it is a cool art style.
It works.
But I'm wondering now if it's going to start losing its charm because Square Enix has started to use it so much.
I don't think so. Not if it works for converting games of this nature. I'm hoping this is a warm-up to doing it to the older 16-bit Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to see 6
it would
done
be
up like this.
Yeah, for sure. And then they also said that the first 2 Dragon Quest games are getting the same treatment but they are coming later, like next year or something like that.
I mean, Dragon Quest III was the big deal. It was the breakout.
Yeah.
Certainly, and it was I think the one that finally got some traction here to some degree on the NES. So yeah, 3 makes sense to lead with 3.
Yep. And as we said, the 2 others are coming, although they didn't give release dates for those, but probably in the next year. This launches November 14th. It's not just for Switch, though. It's also coming, oddly enough, to PS4 and PC.
Well, Dragon Quest is too big to limit to the Switch. So.
No, I understand that, but it's like, why not PS5 and Xbox Series or any Xbox for that matter?
I think it just doesn't have enough to justify PS5 on it. I mean, it's going to run, obviously.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I wonder if some of it's just like so Sony can't charge extra money for the PS5 version.
So people will buy it. Yeah, that could be. But anyway, again, that is coming on November 14th. So you're starting to see the release calendar for Switch here is looking pretty good until the end of the year. Next up, I know something that Matt's really excited about. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. 7 games in one compilation.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I already own it. So.
Own what?
I have the Arcade 1-Up, which is basically the same collection.
Oh, it has all 7?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It doesn't have Punisher, but it has X-Men, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, and Marvel Capcom 1 and 2.
Okay. But the big thing here is this has online play, right? That's the big new feature.
Arcade game.
Oh, it does. Cool.
That's why I bought it. Because it was the first time those games had real online play.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the difference here is the Arcade 1-Up comes with also comes with Mutant Apocalypse and Infinity War from the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
And this comes with Punisher.
Oh.
I suspect it's because Punisher can do online co-op because it's a multiplayer arcade game, and the Super Nintendo games are single-player games.
Yeah.
I think both of those, at least Mutant Apocalypse is better than Punisher. But Punisher, I don't know if it's ever been released on a home system before, like other than like the Genesis and Super Nintendo ports, like the actual arcade version. So that might.
Everyone's hoping Justin Horman. I hope it's the arcade version and not the Genesis version. Yeah.
It looked like the arcade version to me.
And Andy T. Monahan reminds us that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a big deal because it was delisted back for the PS3 and 360.
Well, the fact, they've been selling it through that Arcade at 1-Up machine for 2 years.
That's an expensive investment, though.
Yeah, that is the arcade version, 100%.
You're sure?
100%.
Okay, that's good.
If you've seen the Genesis version, you would not doubt. So, it's a great collection. It's good that it's on actual consoles. You don't have to buy a tiny miniature arcade machine to play it, but I'm happy with what I got.
Yeah. This also is,
and again, more and more there's like indications of, and I assume we will talk about the Street Fighter thing in the Xbox showcase.
Well, we will. We can.
Yeah. But because there's more to it than that. But Capcom is making some interesting moves that indicate that these company crossovers are in their forward plans.
That's good.
So there's a part of me that wonders if this isn't a prelude to something.
Yeah.
A 4, perhaps.
That would be awesome.
The other thing to note, people have...
Although the last one was so rotten.
Well, Infinite is its own thing.
It really is.
Well, and also remember, so Infinite has kind of gone through a little bit of a renaissance with the fighting game community, in the sense that people have kind of admitted that like the gameplay isn't bad. It's not great, but it isn't bad. The main problem is that it's ugly as hell. So there's a thing that's been going on where it's a Maximilian dude, if you know him on YouTube.
Very familiar with him.
He has been promoting this. There's an artist whose name I can't remember, but they are basically total converting the PC version of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite to a completely new art style that looks way more comic book style and more like Marvel 3.
Like it should look.
And it looks great.
Oh, cool.
Like it looks amazing. And they're redoing everything. They're redrawing stuff. They're rebalancing like some of the animations to work better with like it looked like you'd never know. And they're doing the backgrounds. They're doing it's like when the modding is done, Infinite will look kind of like how it always was.
How it should.
Yeah. So there'll be a little bit, but I'm hoping that at some point there's a 4 in the cards that like is done by people that know what the hell they're doing. Because like the other thing you got to I worry about is one of the reasons you had that little renaissance of Marvel and Street Fighter, all that stuff, kind of in the late aughts and early teens. Is not just because Ono was there, but because Seth Killian was overseeing everything.
Who then went to Riot, and I think he's left Riot now. Even
did he? I didn't know that.
They're starting to show their fighting game now. It's called what, TK2O or something like that, TKOD or some crap like that.
I didn't see that. I mean, he was on Project L at Riot and then he went over to Epic.
Yeah, Project L has been renamed.
Yeah, I don't remember what as I recall, the name is even dumber.
Yeah, it's like 2KTKO or
2KTKO, yeah,
something like that.
He and the Canon brothers, the guys who started Evo, started the company to make. Well, first they made that one free-to-play fighter. Remember that free-to-play fighter that was supposed to be all on keyboard on PC and it was supposed to be more accessible?
Oh, yeah.
And then they shut it down when Riot bought the company, and then Seth went over to Riot.
Yeah.
Or Seth went over to Epic, rather. I thought Seth was still at Epic. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in forever. It's been a really long time.
I think the last time I saw him in person, I saw him at probably E320. I saw him coming out of a movie theater in San Francisco.
Random.
Years ago. I was just there to see a movie, and we were walking out, and he was walking out with, I think, his future wife. And I just talked to him briefly, and that was good stuff. But
well, this is also coming to weird platforms. It's coming to Switch, PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Mm-hmm. And it launches... Or no, I'm sorry. It's just Switch, PC, and PS4. And it's coming before the end of 2024. This is another one that's coming out for weird last-gen consoles. And,
I mean, there's just no reason to... Yeah. It all runs on modern stuff.
I mean, you can just play it on PS5 anyway, so why create a separate SKU?
Saves me some hard drive space.
Yep. Caustic Kip, thank you for Twitch Prime, man. Really, really appreciate it. We really, really need that. So if anyone's listening to this show right now or watching, please help us out with Twitch Prime. And then next up, kind of the last third-party thing I want to mention from this Direct is Romancing Saga 2. It's being remade. This is coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. So this actually included Xbox. I don't remember a ton about this game other than it was at the time, everyone's like, oh, I've never played an RPG like that. It was kind of non-linear is what I remember about it.
The Saga games are generally not... Octopath Traveler is a direct descendant of the Saga idea. Sure. I never really got into them. I found them both confusing and difficult back in the day, and I never really went back, especially because they were they came out here only intermittently, really. There's a lot more Saga games in Japan than there are.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
I don't know.
JRPG.
I might, but I don't. This looks pretty I'm surprised you don't want to talk about the Sakaguchi game.
Oh, which one?
I can't remember the name. It was Sakaguchi and music by Uematsu and...
Yeah, but did they rename that for the new game?
I don't know.
I think it was called something else when it originally came out for mobile or something.
It wasn't mobile. It looked familiar, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It had a weird name.
It's an old game. It's been out for a while.
Fantasian. That's what.
Yeah,
it was.
but now it's called something else, I think.
No, they called it Fantasian.
Oh, I thought it was.
It has some subtitle now in this.
Oh, okay.
It was Fantasian Super Dimension or.
I didn't include it because the game is ancient.
Yeah.
And no one really cared when it came out before.
Well, they might care when it's not on a phone.
I guess. Yeah. But no, I did not include it.
I enjoyed that if you can collect random battles and not fight them at the time and then fight them all at once later.
Yeah.
And it's called I can't remember what it was called. It's you dump them in another dimension, a pocket dimension, and basically fight them all at once, and it's called the Dimension or something. It's a dungeon dimension. It was some weird hybrid word. Then I'm like, that's just dumb enough to be funny.
Well, this game, as I said, is...
Oh, it was on Apple Arcade. That's where it was.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't mobile. It was on Apple Arcade.
Yep. This game is coming October 24th, so also coming before the end of the year. And again, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. And then there's just a bunch of hodgepodge of nothingness, basically. They talked about the Nintendo World Championships, NES Edition. That's coming on July 18th. They showed Fairy Tail 2. They showed Among Us DLC, Funko Fusion, gameplay trailer, Darkest Dungeon 2 for Switch, and then a ton of Japanese games. Ultimately...
And a Lord of the Rings cozy game.
Right, but that had been announced already.
Yeah.
And they showed Lego Horizon Adventures.
This is the first most people are going to hear of.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
They showed Lego Horizon Adventures. We're going to talk about that in a segment later on in the show, which is weird. It's weird seeing Aloy on Switch with the Nintendo logos all around her. And
it's more weird seeing
times are changing.
It's more weird seeing Aloy as a Lego.
Right, yeah. But otherwise, there was 5 big games in this Direct. If this was really a Nintendo E3 press conference, I'd be walking out of there. I think I'd be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, the big games are also, they would be B-listers in a year with actual AAA.
Yeah, because don't forget, Metroid Prime, Metroid in general, does not sell.
No, it's not.
It's
one of
not
their
a great
top
seller.
franchises.
Yeah,
They basically they make the Metroids for the love of the game.
pretty
basically.
much just for fans. Yeah. Legend of Zelda, obviously a big deal, but Mario and Luigi, that's a B tier Nintendo franchise.
And so's the Zelda. I mean, that's not a Tale of Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
It's
not a mainline game.
It's an Oracle of Ages.
Yeah, it's a spin-off. So generally, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling this Nintendo Direct all that much. Like I'd probably give it like a B- or a C+.
I'd say B-. It's not amazing, but it's sure as hell better than what Sony's got.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this more.
I mean, everything is being measured by the Sony yardstick here for me, and I mean, they're blowing Sony out of the water here.
Yeah,
like,
which wasn't a tough ask.
Not a tough ask, but as long as you're doing that, I'm pretty much
you're
okay.
Winning.
Yeah.
What are your letter grades for this Direct? I mean, this should
And Nintendo would have a better excuse because they are warming up for a new system and having like a drought of stuff where they hadn't planned to not have a new system yet. But they still have stuff to put out. I'm just like, all right, you maneuvered and you figured it out, and you've got a pretty full release schedule, even if not everything is something I care about. But like, you have a pretty full release. Like, they got something coming pretty much every month till the end of the year.
Literally, some in November is looking real good. For Switch.
What
Yeah.
They're killing it.
Mission accomplished
compared to the PlayStation.
Yeah. I mean, they're killing it compared to everybody, and have been for the last 7 or 8 years.
But as we're going to see, Xbox, while it's not killing it in the same immediate way, like Sony looks real bad out of this past
I've been
week and
trying to tell people this. I've been saying this for 3 years.
I mean, I don't really care. Like I'm sure.
I mean, I don't care who wins or loses.
I mean, eventually Sony's going to put out a bunch of awesome stuff, and it'll be fine.
And they'll have a great year, and they'll win Platform of the Year that year.
But it's like,
and then 3 years later.
But of the big three, like Sony failed to rearrange and kind of see ahead and see where that gap was going to be. And look, like Microsoft isn't really handling it too well either. But as we're going to see, they were able to distract you from it. Yeah. You know, like a lot of stuff in this Xbox showcase is 2025, but a lot of it's really cool. And like when I thought back to the Sony stuff, I'm just like, no.
Or that's like 2026 and it didn't look that cool.
Just Astrobot, really.
Yeah. I mean, it got his ass kicked at this not E3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really did.
Like for once, it was a good thing it didn't go because of that.
Right.
Not that anyone is going to E3 because E3 doesn't exist, but it's like, it's the first year since Sony left E3 that you're like, yeah, it's probably better.
That you didn't show up. Yeah. It was bad. Yep. So anyway, let's see if you guys, did you guys put your letter grades in for Nintendo? No, you did not. I mentioned it in passing. Oh, here's some. Let me bring you guys up here. Let's see. An A for MVC and Prime 4 alone. Wow, Stucky, you're an easy one. You're easy like Sunday morning, bro. Abram says it was an Apple Arcade prison. Yeah. There's been a few games like that. Vincent says you're nuts. I'm not sure who he's talking about there.
Yeah, I like the Ace Attorney Investigations finally, the second one finally getting an English release.
Yeah,
is very good.
Which had never come to the West before. Link So Good just says Microsoft and Nintendo had a good not E3. Vincent says Nintendo's lineup it showed for Q4 is better than Microsoft. Okay.
I mean, Microsoft doesn't have much coming out.
Yeah. Well, it has, is it better than Xbox?
I don't know. We'll have to go through that again. And
Indiana Jones is a little hard to read. I don't know how good it's going to be.
Indiana Jones, I'm not 100% sure it's coming this year.
That's also possible.
Because I don't know. Because they talked about December, but now it just says 2024.
Yeah.
I don't trust that.
Climax 83 says for a Swan Song System Direct, it was good. Yeah, I mean, B- is good.
Oh, there'll be more directs before this system is done.
Hell yeah.
Believe you me.
Emperor Dread, nothing but with Funko Pops gets an A. Ashes in the Hourglass, if Prime 4 was this year, I'd give it an A. Come on, man. That's crazy, dude. Come on, let's go through these games again that Nintendo just showed here and tell me it's a freaking A. Metroid Prime 4, a spin-off Zelda, and Mario and Luigi. Come on, man. How do you even
get some hardcore Mario Party fans
I mean,
here.
Come on, man. I don't know if you're a Nintendo fan, but it sure seems like it. I'm just saying, damn, dude. You really gave them the benefit of the doubt there. Climax says they used to have nothing. I mean, they used to have nothing, period. At the end, what are you talking about? They used to have nothing from the middle to the end. Like, the last two Nintendo consoles, they launched, and then, 18 months later, it was freaking crickets. It's so funny how people's memories just go blank.
The Wii U shut itself down long before.
Literally after 18 months.
It was just it was like a weird little trick. Like, everyone was excited that Tokyo Mirage Sessions was coming out because it was something to play. Like, it was...
Yeah.
And barely.
Yeah. Retro Modern Gamer says Sony said they have stuff to show next year. Well, we hope so. It's been 3 years without anything. They better show stuff next year. Vincent says Sony's State of Play was weird since one of its big games was saved for Jeff. I mean, was it?
What was it?
I mean, he's insinuating that the Lego Horizon game was a big game saved for Jeff.
I would not consider that a big game, really.
Here's some grades. Silksnake, F, because the series I don't play. Okay, fair enough. Eve Demon, B. Danny Endurance, D+. That's probably a little rough. Link So Good, B. Eric Cartmenes, B+. Vortex Complex, B. Justin Horman says I didn't watch it. Olfin81, a C. Faradol says a shrug. Leonosaurus says I give it an A as well. Okay. Okay.
Zelda looks better than Indie or Avowed? No. Come on.
We got some Nintendo fans in here today, Matt.
Lucky for Nintendo, people are so willing to accept whatever they throw at them, I guess. But, no, that Zelda game is a big disappointment to me. Like,
I'm excited to play it still, but
I'm curious. I'm not excited.
Retro Modern Gamer says C+ or B-. Fruit Eater, B for Prime 4. And I don't watch the directs. I use SIFTD for the trailers. Fair enough. Okay.
I would, if I didn't have to play it to talk about it on the show, I would skip that Zelda game.
Really?
Yeah.
What if it turns out to be awesome?
I don't think that's an awesome I care about.
Okay.
I don't care about the puzzle solving they're showing in that. That is not interesting to me.
I'm not a huge fan of puzzle platformers either, to be perfectly honest with you.
But that does not look interesting to me. It looks like a menu-driven nightmare to me. I don't...
Captain Toad, I really liked.
Captain Toad's very good. Zack and Wiki. Like, there's certainly action puzzle stuff
but
I
most
like.
I do not like.
But that looks like... No.
Yeah.
I'm not... I mean, it's just... so close. Like, it was like, oh, you almost had me. And no, I like the art style. I like the look of it. I like what they're trying to do there. I like
what if it turns out that she can summon swords and fight with swords?
We'll think about it then.
Yeah.
But like, what I saw in this, I was like, if it wasn't my job, I would ignore that game.
Okay.
That's not what a Zelda game is to me. It's
Okay.
not what I want.
Well, thank you guys for your grades, your letter grades. It always helps to get a little bit of different context from what Matt and I are thinking on stuff, particularly the folks who decided to give that an A. Definitely a unique perspective there that Matt and I do not share. And let's move on. We're going to talk next.
Indie does look kind of mid, but so does Zelda. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I'm honestly more interested in punching Nazis than stacking beds.
Yeah.
Unless I can stack beds on Nazis. I don't think that's in the cards.
I don't think we have any idea how good Indiana Jones is going to be.
Indy's a big... well, here's the thing. I do think what they showed in terms of the cutscenes is dead on in tone. Like, that felt like it could have been from an indie movie.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is a giant question mark. And the fact that they're not showing it, really, is concerning.
Yeah.
Machine Games does good stuff. I don't know. They maybe have earned the benefit of the doubt. And I'm sure there'll be one more big presentation, at least between now and the release. I do feel like it's slipping to next year. The fact that they were talking about a December date before, now it just says
they don't have a date.
There's no date. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's dicey. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, that's a great segue into us discussing the Xbox Showcase. Now, obviously, I discussed a little bit of this stuff with Marcus and Pactor for our Not E3 coverage. However, I was really more of a host in those shows, just kind of tossing to Pactor and Marcus, and not really sharing my opinion all that much because we only had so much time, and those guys were people that normally aren't in our content, so I wanted to make sure that they got a chance to share their takes on stuff. So I didn't share all my takes on a lot of this stuff from these other press conferences. Matt obviously hasn't shared his takes at all. So we're going to go back through the Xbox Not E3 Showcase. I think most people at this point are pretty excited, were pretty excited about the showcase in general. To me, it was hard to find anybody who thought it was even mediocre. But we'll save our grades for the end. I've actually already shared mine in the other show, but we'll get yours when we get to the end here. So let's start talking about the new consoles, Matt. Did this catch you off guard at all?
No, I thought we talked about these before.
No, they announced them in the press conference. It was like the first thing that they showed.
I definitely knew about them. I knew there was another...
There was a rumor floating around that they were coming.
I knew there was a 2 terabyte Series X coming. I 100% knew that. I don't know.
The rumors had been out there for a while. But 3 consoles all announced at once, which is pretty crazy. There's a Galaxy Black Xbox Series X that's 2 terabyte, like you said. There's an all-digital Xbox Series X that's in white with a 1 terabyte hard drive. And there's an Xbox Series S with a 1 terabyte hard drive in robot white. And all 3 are coming in holidays 2024. part of this might also be, hey, we can produce these a lot cheaper now. Let's get these new versions of our units out into the chains, charge the same price for them. Now we're cooking with gas. We're actually making a profit on some of these consoles. Because otherwise, to me, I mean, there's very little draw for me with these consoles.
Well, I already have one. What do I need any of these?
Well, I mean, I've upgraded my consoles before. I got a PS4 Pro, and I would have got an Xbox One X.
Well, they don't do anything different.
What do you mean?
It's got more storage, but they're not more powerful.
Yeah, these aren't more powerful. Yeah.
Who cares?
These are just new models that they're just replacing.
I already have a 2 terabyte Xbox Series X.
Right, because you have
bought that stupid card.
The expansion, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's... Meh.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think they're just replacing the existing models.
Pretty much.
And they'll probably be able to make them cheaper and make money on them where they weren't before. So I understand why it did it, but it's a little weird, I think, to lead the press conference with this. Because, again, to your point, it is kind of a big story about nothing.
I mean, it's probably better to get it out of the way. Like, you don't want to stop down in the middle to do it or have it be the big final thing. It's like, we're going to start with this, and then we're going to jump in and never fucking stop.
It should have been the thing before one last thing.
No, I think they did the right thing here, because people are just tuning in. Maybe they missed part of it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't miss anything important if you tune in a little late.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, those are all coming before the end of the year.
I'm sure they would not agree with that, but that is, if I were programming the show, that's what I would do.
Silksnake asks, why would anyone buy the white X when you can get a disk drive and a more storage with the black X?
Oh, was the thing right before Gears? Well, okay. I wonder if they lost some people on that.
If they what?
It was the last thing right before One More Thing.
What was?
The systems.
No, I thought the consoles were the first thing they showed in that.
No, they're right. I just watched this yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, it was the last thing they talked about, and then they did one more thing.
I thought for sure because I had it in the top of my notes, but maybe I just reorganized.
I think you put it at the top of the notes because it's the most boring thing to talk about.
Maybe, yeah. And I thought that it was just what I have here is like a straight log. You're probably right. It's not. I had rearranged it for the rundown. Yeah, you're probably right. Silkshake says for €50 you're getting 1 terabyte in a disk drive. That is a good deal, if that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
But anyway, again, new hardware that's about as low-key as new hardware could possibly be.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. Let's start moving on to the games here. One of the biggest games in the industry, and some people would argue maybe the biggest game in this, depending on your interest, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I think the big thing about this, Matt, other than showing the first gameplay and stuff like that, is that there were no unpleasant surprises. Because before this, the talk was like it's going on Game Pass day one, no conflicts or compromises. If you subscribe to Game Pass, you're going to play the game. And I struggled to believe it. I was like, Pachter had convinced me that like maybe the multiplayer doesn't end up on Game Pass. But no, this entire game is going to be on Game Pass on day one. You're going to get the campaign. You're going to get zombies. You're going to get multiplayer. It'll be an interesting experiment to see how it all plays out. So much is going to be riding on this, Matt, how this performs with Game Pass and everything. It is the ultimate guinea pig.
That was one of the funniest things in the whole conference was when the guy's like, I spent enough time in hell. I expected to see the devil. And the other guy goes, what does he look like? Or how does he look? Or something. It's just like, what the fuck is this dialogue?
I mean, let's be honest. Call of Duty's writing and stuff has never been great.
No.
It's not its forte.
It was just like... It's like, man, if you guys weren't carrying guns, I would laugh my ass off at you right now if I was there. It's like, it's very silly. But this actually doesn't look bad. So
the Retro Modern Gamer's comment is for the COD bros. It's still weird to me, Matt, that why has this franchise become the franchise that everybody, the core gamers, want to reject? Why is it not all the other first-person shooters? Why is it this one? Is it just because it's popular?
Because it's popular, and because it's popular people who don't play games.
Yeah, because casual people play it a lot.
Pretty much.
That seems silly. Like
it's not silly when you guys sit in the voice chat and hear these dipshits babbling the whole time.
No, I understand that, but it's like, I've always played and enjoyed Call of Duty, and people have attacked me for it for literally like 15 years because I'm a core gamer that enjoys Call of Duty. People have made fun of me for that from my game trailers days till today. I don't understand why. It's just a first-person shooter. Do you go after all the other first-person shooters?
There aren't that many other first-person shooters.
There's tons. What do you mean? No one ever says this about Halo.
Not in terms of like...
I mean, there were Halo bros.
Well, sure, there's Halo, but like Halo's irrelevant now, and Halo barely comes out anymore. Like, Call of Duty is the only first-person shooter that you can regularly depend on a new installment on a regular basis.
So just that genre now is just for...
It's the king of the hill, and it's been king of the hill for 17
Don't you just think
years.
it's weird, though, the psychology of it?
Not really.
Why?
Because people don't like popular things. It's just how it works.
So goofy.
You got a bunch of people that's like...
I don't just hate something because it's popular. I'll hate something if I just don't like it.
But a lot of people fall victim to that psychology.
But
that happens a lot.
And I mean, the irony for me is that I haven't been a mainstream person in anything my entire life.
Street Fighter suffered from that from like the whole time it was big in the 90s. People would make fun of you for playing Street Fighter because they were playing Mortal Kombat or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a part
now
of...
Mortal Kombat gets that shit because it sells so well. Like
it's so pathetic,
that's just how... I mean, look at... People hate on the Marvel movies because they're so popular. Like, that's just... People are like that.
Yeah, I just think it's weird.
I mean, it's tiresome.
I mean, like, the weird part about it is I have been in counterculture my entire life, and I don't look at things that way.
Well, here's the thing. It has nothing to do with counterculture. It has to do
You don't think it is?
No.
You don't think it's that gamers think that they're like some special sect of people that... with clairvoyance to see things that are... Really?
No, it's purely just casuals versus hardcore thing.
Wow.
That's all it is.
It's so weird.
But it happens all the time. That's what film Twitter is. They think anyone who likes a Marvel movie is a casual idiot who doesn't understand movies, and then they post up their take about how they don't fucking understand a single thing they just saw in the latest Pixar film. Like it's all... I mean, they're all pretty dumb.
It's weird psychology, I think.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's very human. I just think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say weird. I think it's stupid.
I think it's weird that humans organically think
that way. But it's very
way.
common. So it's not. I wouldn't say it's weird because it's extremely common.
Yeah.
So to be weird, you have to be a little unique, and there's nothing unique about hating Call of Duty for being popular. And it's in fact the most basic thing you could do.
I'm the weirdo apparently because I enjoy core games and I also enjoy Call of Duty.
I would say that's true. Yes.
That's so funny. So anyway,
and I mean, I don't play a lot of Call of Duty, but I'm willing. I mean, that actually looks pretty good to me, and I don't even like Black Ops that much.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Again, as a Call of Duty player, it doesn't look that good to me. Like,
I think it looks interesting because it's a time period that hasn't really been addressed much.
Yeah.
Like the 90s Gulf War stuff, that kind of era. And for the moment where I was like, oh, isn't that a little too recent to be? And then I was like, nah, that's about as far back as Vietnam was when we were making Vietnam games in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So 30 years is about right.
Yeah. I didn't think it looked that good, but the stuff that I learned about the multiplayer, I really liked. And the biggest thing to me in this is the movement. They've completely redone the movement in this game. So you can lay prone on the ground, and you can get up rolling away in any direction. You can sprint in any direction. Literally 8 different directions you can sprint.
So
how... You can sprint left or right, and it keeps you oriented looking straight ahead.
Oh, good. So how will the dipshits abuse that to make it entirely the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen to try to play?
It can make it hard to hit people for sure. Because now they use bunny hops. That's what everybody uses. Bunny hops.
But that's on my mind. That's on my mind because the Gears of War thing. Because the Gears wall bouncing thing is a hot topic now because Gears is re-announced. And it's like, and there's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, wall bouncing looks incredibly stupid. It's effective and it's hard to do. And like, if you can do it, you're gonna get an edge. It's a skill to be. But it's like,
well, remember the shotgun roll?
Oh yeah, but like this is beyond. I mean, you watch footage of these guys doing the wall bouncing. This is like you can't even see them. Like the way the game works in terms of aiming at shit, you just can't hit them. You know? And it's like
shotgun roll is hard to stop too, man.
Yeah,
someone runs up to you and they just do a roll and pop up, boom, kill you.
But if you're wall bouncing,
it kind of ruined the multiplayer.
The wall bouncing ruined the multiplayer. In 2, like the multiplayer audience for Gears has shrunk since 2 every time because to be effective in Gears multiplayer you must wall bounce.
Yeah,
and I understand the people that love wall bouncing and are good at it and want to keep it as a thing, but it's like, you know what? The fact that online Gears plays literally nothing like offline Gears is a problem.
Yeah,
in way more than Call of Duty.
I agree with that.
But all this stuff with the sprinting and the roll, like, I'm like, okay, there's ways to abuse that the devs have not foreseen.
Yeah,
and you're gonna end up with a situation like that one. I don't remember which Battlefield it was, but there was that one Battlefield where everybody figured out that dolphin diving was faster than just running.
Yeah,
and so
everybody's just like jumping.
It was like a bunch of flippers just fucking rolling through the battlefield, and you're like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. I know it's effective, but it's not. It ruins the whole look.
Sometimes it works though, like with Tribes, like skiing in Tribes was not a part of the game.
Oh sure, but like that
every once
cool,
in a while,
and it looks like it looked in universe.
Right?
If that makes sense. Like it's
they all had jetpacks, so,
right?
Yeah,
but like when you saw someone doing that in Tribes, it doesn't look weird. When you see someone snaking in Mario, it doesn't look weird. I mean, obviously they're doing something, but it doesn't look like you're breaking the rules of how go-karts work.
Right.
Whereas like when you do stuff like wall bouncing or like whatever dolphin diving thing or whatever, drop shooting, I know was a thing in Call of Duty for multiplayer for a while. Like that doesn't look so bad. But like dolphin diving, I was like, I stopped playing the game. I'm like, not because I was mad at getting killed by it or I couldn't do it, but because I thought it looked so stupid. I don't want to play a war-based shooter that way. That's not how people fight.
Scoping in Call of Duty was a big thing, where they just have a sniper rifle and go flap-pang, 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 one shot and just kill like everybody in like a second. And they have nerfed that to the point they had to nerf the guns so that they weren't one-shot kills. Like, but anyway, the movement thing is a big deal. Like, they need to do it. You're right. They're going to abuse it. Good players are going to figure out how to like tweak it and like ruin it. But they have to take that first step towards new movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a matter of like kind of patching it and tweaking to
but it's a big first step.
Stuff,
so I'm happy for that. But otherwise,
one can only hope that this is a first step that they intend to adopt universally. Like, because hopefully it doesn't become a thing where the next one doesn't have that.
I think it will be universal after this, provided it isn't a complete disaster, which it could be.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But anyway,
they really need to figure out a way to like kind of platform this series so every time you get one you kind of know what you're getting. I mean, you do, but it's like there's all these little, every time there's a new one you have 20 minutes of explanations of why it's different from the last two. And it's just like, what if Call of Duty just played like Call of Duty? Like, I not that you can never change anything or alter anything, but it's like it just feels like it's not a very dependable, in terms of basic feel. It varies.
It changes a lot.
Yeah,
it does.
And that was a problem back. It was one of the reasons I stopped playing it, because it just didn't. And I don't care about the multiplayer, but even the campaign felt different.
Well, remember they had the entry that had jetpacks, and I loved it, and everybody else hated it, and you never saw them again. It's like you create that muscle memory, and then you're right, it's just gone.
Yeah, Infinite Warfare is finally getting some respect, like in hindsight, but you're never gonna get a follow up to that. Like, it just didn't sell well enough.
Yep. So anyway, that comes out October 25th. Not long to wait for that. Again, Game Pass day and date. You can get Game Pass for $16 for a month, and you can play the new Call of Duty for a month.
It means I'll actually play it this year.
And for a lot of people, they will only play Call of Duty for a month anyway. Yeah. Like, I keep playing the multiplayer for months afterwards, and a lot of people do. But a lot of people just want to play the campaign, play multiplayer for a few weeks, maybe play a few rounds of zombies, and they're good. And you can do that now for $16.
I mean, I was like mildly shocked when Skull and Bones came up in the Ubisoft presentation, because I was like, oh, that was this year. I played that for like 2 weeks. That's still going. It was like, well, you just forget about it. It just goes in one brain and out the other.
Because it's not memorable.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't stick with you. Next up, a game that did stick with me, Doom: The Dark Ages. So the last Doom, we talked about it before they debuted this one. It has that gimmick of regaining like ammo and health by killing enemies in specific ways. Matt, this just looks like a straight up Doom.
Yeah, this looks like more like my version of what Doom
with a cool new weapon, the shield, which does a bunch of different stuff. Like, you can use it to block bullets, you can throw it, and then situate yourself in such a way that when it comes back, it takes out enemies. I don't know if the one gun that they show in this uses the shield, but they show this one new gun in here where it's got like this crazy spread shot. Is that from the shield?
No, the thing that's grinding a skull up to make ammo, that's a separate gun.
Okay. Technically, this game looks stunning. One of the better looking.
He's holding the shield.
Yeah, this.
He's holding the shield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. So they are separate. But this shield is sweet. You can wind it up and it works like a saw. Like, I like this approach more than the mechanical approach of like, hey, you kill this guy this way, you get ammo. You kill this guy this way, you get health back. Like, I prefer stuff like this. Looks awesome. Going back to the Dark Ages, I felt like this franchise was always in the Dark Ages.
Well, medieval.
But I love the art. I love the enemies. Everything about this game looks good to me. What say you?
It's good. It's kind of cool. They're doing the giant mechs that you saw the ruins of in the last game.
Yep. What about the mount? The flying on the mount? Do you think the game's going to be like open world or something?
No, I think it's going to be open. That looks like a planned sequence.
You think it's just like a cinematic that just shows you flying to the next location?
No, I think it looks like you can control it, but I think it's a Panzer Dragoon kind of thing more than an open world thing. Somebody really liked that ending of Godzilla 2014 there.
I mean, these early clips here, it looks like the world is like made of these like islands that you like fly to.
I mean,
see what I'm saying? See, there's all these pieces of Earth like hanging in the sky.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. There's teleporting to. I mean, I don't know what he's doing here.
I don't either.
Like
he's getting ready to kick some ass.
Time travel or something. Because it's clearly medieval era, but like he's got all his stuff.
Yeah.
He's got his shotgun and some shield they invented for him and a nice Viking cloak. And
yep. Justin Horman says, will or will not the IGN review say Panzer Dragoon for this game? Place your bets now. Justin Horman says parry is surprising. Made me think it'll focus more on melee. Is there parries in this?
Yeah, he's parrying with a shield.
Oh, I didn't notice that actually. Oh, yeah. How did I not pick up on that?
I don't know. There's a clip that just focuses on that.
Really?
After they show all the throwing here. Like the shield is very versatile.
Yeah, it really is. That's why I say I want him to focus on stuff like this in the future.
So he's blocking with that, but watch him. He stuns a guy with it in a second. The guy with the big flail. There, block.
He blocked.
That's a parry. He blocked right at the last second, and you could see he had
it did stun him.
He had a glow around him.
It did stun him and give you an opening there. I think this looks awesome. I'm really excited for this.
I mean, it looks way more like what I want from Doom than Eternal was.
Yep, me too. Although Eternal was also great. Like I really did like it.
Eternal just wasn't my thing. It just didn't click. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just not what I didn't enjoy it as much as 2016.
And that's coming in 2025 as of right now. So we'll see. id Tech rocking on. Next up, we already kind of teased this a little bit. Gears of War E-Day. It's a prequel. It was funny. Until I watched this trailer, I had completely forgotten that the first Gears picks up after all the insanity happens.
Yeah, it's all in the end. It's the closing days of the war. Right?
Yeah. And this goes back to Emergence Day, which is so funny how they talked about it throughout the entire franchise. E-Day, Emergence Day. And you never got to play through it, and now you will.
Well, they couldn't do it before. I think you needed higher tech to show that.
Maybe.
I mean, you see the last shot of this, and it's like you have to show.
You think that's real time? That shot?
Yes,
really?
100%.
I mean, that last shot's insane.
100% real.
What? Wow.
But it's like, yeah, you had to show the whole civilization being brought down by all these things, and I think this is when they finally realized they could do it.
Yeah.
I think that's why you're not getting 6 yet, because like there is still story to you got to finish that story.
Yeah, it ended on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Microsoft has said they're coming back to that. The funny part is I saw people complaining that they're getting this instead of the next Gears with the new characters.
Yeah, I think going back to kind of Marcus and Dom and the whole kind of why you originally liked this series is smart.
I think it had to happen.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was just losing so much cachet.
And this is a cool idea. Like, this is a cool thing. Like, it's not like I don't want to know what happens next in 6, but also, like, this is a cool thing to show.
Yeah. I'm excited for this. I think it looks
young
great.
Marcus and young Dom, and I mean, I didn't. It was
even hard to tell. It was Marcus
a lot of people don't recognize him until he puts the headband back on, or the do rag or whatever it is.
Yep. And then they bring back the song.
Yeah. They bring back the
Gears 2, right? Is that Gears 2?
That was the Gears 2 trailer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with the drop thing.
What's the name of that song? Lonely places. Yeah. You can hear just like the keys of it.
Something World.
Yeah, Mad World.
Mad World.
Yeah, that's what it was. They bring back. You just hear the keys of it in this, and it's all by design, Matt. Look at this shot, by the way. I'm gonna pause this. Look at that. You think that's real time?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Because I have no problem believing the Unreal 5 can do that.
Because the other thing too is like if it's moving, like you see those creatures, they're all moving and shit. Like. That's an insane shot, man. But you're right. Like, they can do Marvel Spider-Man 2. Why can't they do this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does.
I have no doubt this is real time. I have no doubt all that Fable stuff is real time.
Yeah, yeah. Fable for sure. And that game also.
I mean, look what Hellblade 2 did.
Oh, yeah.
This is not really beyond that.
Well.
You got, as long as the backdrop there, like once past the bridge, I bet is like way simplified. But like, oh, yeah, I got no problem.
Yeah, you can do
believing that.
Retro Modern Gamer says they said this trailer was pre-rendered with in-game assets. Yeah, that's fine though. Well, actually, is it fine because it's not running on the hardware?
Well,
then
it depends. We'll see how it. I mean, there might be a little more hitching if you try to run this in real time.
J. Reed Vic says Gears is Gears because of the characters. Xbox's most iconic characters behind Master Chief. You care about the new characters in the new trilogy for better or worse. I agree. But again, I was surprised that some people were pissed, and they're like, "Wait, I want to see what happens with these new kids," and I'm like, "I don't."
I don't think. I think that's not going to be the majority of people.
Yeah.
I think most people are going to be glad to see Marcus and Dom back and see that. I mean, this is an interesting idea, like because like as Cliff used to say, the whole the kind of the watchwords for Gears 1 was destroyed beauty, was this beautiful like architectural civilization that had been brought down to rubble by the Locust.
Yep. And
getting to see what it looked like before. And it was always kind of a little glimpse you'd get once in a while, like flashbacks or whatever. Yeah. But like
they show cutscenes, CG every once in a while.
A little bit here, like flashbacks to Marcus's dad and things like that. But like seeing it actually get destroyed, and that'd be cool. Like that's an and like apocalypses are interesting. And sure, I mean it looks way more interesting than like day one Quiet Place thing that just came out.
Yeah, it definitely does. But anyway, that game is scheduled for, is that next year as well?
I think...
Or did they not give a date?
I don't know if they gave a date on that. I mean, it's definitely next year at the earliest.
Yeah.
I know that.
Not this year, I know for sure. Yeah. So that was a nice, pleasant surprise. Vincent says, when will Gear 6 happen? This is 2026 at the earliest. Is it? I didn't know that, actually.
I know.
Then the game after this is like 2030. I don't think they'll take 6 years to make Gear 6.
No. I'm going to guess that they've been kind of working on them parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Gear 6,
I'm sure they have the plot and everything for the 6th game.
Gear 6 is kind of a solved problem.
Yeah.
I bet Gear 6 comes sooner than you think.
2 or 3 years after this would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a pleasant surprise. I'm all about Dom and the old school Gears crew more than the old cogs, more than the new folks. The new games are fine, but these characters resonate with me. The new ones don't. And again, no release date for that, but looking pretty good. And then definitely the biggest surprise of them all, Perfect Dark. Like, this game, I don't think anybody expected this game to be there because everything we've heard about it has been awful. Mm-hmm. It's in development hell. They had to bring in other studios to help work on it. Matt, I thought this game was either canceled or we weren't going to see it for like 3 or 4 years. But no, not only do they show it, they show gameplay and a lot of it for this game.
Well, it still could get canceled, but it is definitely more. They had more than I think anybody thought they'd have.
How do you think of the look of Joanna Dark?
Looks fine.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't look like what she used to look like, but the game doesn't look like a cartoon anymore, so she got to look like a real person.
I think she looks great.
Yeah. I mean, you tell me that's Joanna Dark, I believe you.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a real person of that character.
That's what I thought she'd look like in a modern game, so I was not surprised by her look at all. What about the gameplay? Definitely out of character for Perfect Dark. Like, a lot of it is parkour and traversal. It's almost like... what was EA's game? Mirror's Edge.
It's got a little Mirror's Edge to it.
Yeah.
And a lot more wandering around talking to people. I mean, you got to do something more than just a...
She's a spy.
You got to do something more than an N64 shooter.
Yeah, I mean, she's a spy. And they give her all the spy gear that she never had before. I don't remember a ton about Perfect Dark Zero because I think I intentionally just shut it out of my mind. But I don't remember her having as much gear and gadgetry as they've shown in this trailer.
Zero was more of a straightforward shooter, even more than the N64 game in some ways. Because at least a lot of the stuff in that were like the X-ray, the X-ray vision gun and like things like that,
which you also get in this one.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I mean,
the Far Sight.
Those elements kind of make it clear. Okay, that's where Crystal Dynamics was probably involved. Was like kind of adding more stuff like that to it, making it a little more adventure-y. They maybe had the first person parkour because there's some of this is very Lara. Good hanging tapestries to tell you where you need to go.
I mean, it's better than a yellow strip of paint, I guess. But yeah, this has the Farsight in it, which was, probably the most iconic weapon from
Perfect Dark.
Dark.
She has Farsight tech just in her goggles.
Yeah, it does appear that way. Yeah, that she can just see through walls. It does appear that there's a much bigger espionage element to it, and in general, it's not just going to be a sloggy shooter where it's just like fight from point A to point B through these enemies. Now fight from point A to point B through these enemies, and rinse and repeat over and over. It looks like there's going to be variety. Some differences to it, some ebbs and flows, some peaks and valleys.
There's some like close combat stuff.
Yeah, some CQC stuff.
There's parts of me that really wonders how much of this is canned.
Well,
and how much of this is real.
Right on time. This is totally canned. So she shoots this guy, then he literally pushes himself back through the balcony. Like, this shot bothers me.
That is definitely a canned animation.
He literally jumps back through the railing.
I mean, a lot of shooters do that. Which
the timing of that animation looks bad.
It could be tweaked for sure, but like a lot, like there's part of me that like when I was watching this, I was like, is this actual gameplay or is this like a demo? Is this like a target?
Because there's so much happening,
like a target render,
and she's jumping from disciplines like mid combat, which is cool. But I just wonder if it's really going to
like there's part of this that's like, well, okay, like maybe this is why it took so long was fine tuning all those elements. But there's also part of me that's like, is this just a big target render lie, or is it really what we're doing?
Then there's all this stuff where she goes to this like alternate dimension.
Yeah, well, clearly there's some Stranger Things here. I mean, you have to have the supernatural kind of paranormal the aliens in the first one. I don't remember what the weird thing was in the second one.
Yeah, I don't either. Remember the aliens that looked like generic aliens?
Yeah.
Literally the little dudes with big heads.
Elvis. Yeah. Elvis is great. I hope Elvis shows up in this.
Oh, he definitely will. I can guarantee it. Or wait, was he killed?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, actually. Yeah.
No one remembers. Just bring him back. Who cares?
I'll say this. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I guess that's where I've landed after I've thought about it now for a couple weeks and have watched this trailer a few times. It already looks better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope what they've showed us here is real.
Yeah.
And what they're going to eventually release in some form.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this as presented. I don't really trust it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No release date for this yet. God knows.
Yeah.
Again, I was shocked that they showed this game. I couldn't believe it.
And I also I don't know if they've talked, is this a sequel or a reboot?
Didn't say.
Does this have anything to do with the other games?
I mean, Datadyne is in it, yeah.
I mean, obviously, well, yeah, but a reboot would reuse the, I'm going to reboot the Avengers, I'm going to use S.H.I.E.L.D.,
yeah.
and Hydra, but I don't know.
I'm just saying, I mean, it has Datadyne, so maybe the story does continue because it's the Datadyne saga.
Well, but I'm also saying that if I was going to reboot Perfect Dark, I would still use Datadyne in it because they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
No reason to make up new bad guys when you got a perfectly good Cyberdyne ripoff name sitting there under copyright.
I mean, there's plenty of mystery around this game, but we don't have a release date, so there's plenty of time for them to solve those mysteries for us. So I would just say an auspicious debut for this, way better than I expected it to be. I'm with you. I hope to God this isn't fake. If it is, it would be one of the most scandalous showings of a video game ever. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Shore F says he deep interviewed in mid-2022 for this, and Microsoft pulled the plug before I got responses from their team. And Fire Native says, my guess is this is a concept of something they want it to look like.
Oh, geez.
That would be that's certainly what I suspect here.
That would be a huge freaking mistake.
Unless it actually ends up looking like
right.
that. I mean, you've made your bed now, basically.
Now can you lie in it?
Yeah. Exactly. and I completely unforced, too. Like, no one was expecting you to show Perfect Dark.
No, you didn't have to do this.
No. Yeah. So...
Right.
I hope you got a plan here.
Yeah,
that's kind of I guess would be my reaction to that.
That shot is cool. I mean,
that's
other
cool.
than the dude jumping through the railing.
He falls out the rail. She jumps down, lands on the guy, takes his gun, shoots two more guys, slides under, breaks the guy's ankle. I mean, there's a lot of cool. I mean, if the CQC
just the smoke right there,
if the CQC in this is actually accurate, like this could be a really big deal.
Well, I also noticed too that the flashbang is really effective. The smoke is really effective to obscure people being able to see her. Again, there's so much going on in this. It does feel a little too ambitious.
Also there's an element here of is she trapped in some weird hive mind alternate dimension and she's hallucinating that she's a spy somewhere?
Right.
What if that's the reveal that Joanna Dark has been a hallucination of a scientist trapped in an alien hive mind the whole time?
It's possible.
That's one way to get around bringing Elvis back.
Yeah.
It's he was a hallucination the whole time.
But again, that game looked way better than I thought it was going to look. Senaku says, remember when a game showed gameplay and it was just concept and the game never came close to look or gameplay? And Senaku says, that was literally E3 for a decade. Yeah. I mean, it got to the point where they passed the law where you have to label now whether it's actual gameplay. There's the law on the books where you're not allowed to make it seem like that's what the game looks like. That's why you see in commercials and in trailers. 3. Seriously. Definitely one of the big culprits. So anyway, Perfect Dark. No release date, but looking pretty awesome. Hopefully it's legit, and that's really what the game is. Next up, maybe the game that impressed me the most from this whole thing, Fable. The culmination of the 3 trailers that we've seen now have shown so many different things. Like the last one was the focus on Jack and the Beanstalk and the Giant. And now this one is more traditional Fable. They show you Albion. They show you the open world. The humor is on display that the franchise is known for.
The last trailer was kind of like a flavor taste.
Yeah.
This is the tone we're going for.
Yeah.
This is okay,
this is the game.
It's Fable.
Yeah. And wow. Dude, the shot of the town and everything, I was like, hot damn, this is what I've been hoping for.
Yeah, and now after Hellblade,
that shot right there.
And after Hellblade, I believe all this is real.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Question.
Yeah. It looks amazing. The character models look incredible. Wow. This game is looking hot, man. This is one of my most anticipated games, Matt.
I mean, I'd like to see more game. I'd like to see more combat.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what that is.
Because you're right, the combat they show, it almost looks like they're like canned skirmishes a little, almost kind of like Hellblade actually. Every time they show combat in this, it looks like you're in this separate area and there's just a couple people fighting you at once. I don't know, but you're right. That's the big X factor here. We don't know about the combat all that much yet. But everything else, hot damn, man. Again, this is one of my top 5 most anticipated games, period. I cannot, and I am a fan of Fable. I enjoyed even the third one I liked.
I liked them all, but one of the things about Fable is they've all been less than the sum of their parts to me.
Yeah.
I still enjoy them. I played them multiple times. I played all the Fables at least 3 times each. But I hope this one kind of achieves the potential that they've always had. And I don't mean in the sense of living up to that nonsensical GDC announcement that Molyneux did all those years ago. I just mean in terms of being a really top-tier action RPG. Which has always been possible, and they just never quite
got there. Yeah. Although reviews would say that they did, but I'm with you. Like, I don't feel like the franchise ever
I don't
got
think.
there.
I mean, Fable 2 came the closest to me. I thought Fable 3 was too linear. I liked it, but it was a little too... I felt too corridored.
Yeah.
And I replayed all the Fables a few years ago, and 3 was really hard to finish.
Really?
Because it was just...
you would think that's where they had finally honed the formula.
No, 2 was still a lot of fun, but 3, just like by the time you get to the Egypt place, and then you got to do all that, and then you got to go through the end game stuff, it just really bogged down for me.
It was a big game. Yeah. It probably was a little too long. I'd agree with that.
But this is cool. I mean, I appreciate in Fable 3 that when you become king... like the game's only half over. Like, you think that's
they thought that was the big goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they kind of marketed it like that was the goal. Yeah.
But it just bothers me that like the decisions you have to make are so stupid.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no nuance. There's no ability to just sort of make. Why don't we just tell everyone we're trying to prepare for like an Armageddon level conflict instead of just arbitrarily without a word being like, we're just gonna not give you money for the orphanage. Fuck you. Like it felt like a very false dilemma.
This character model right here, this woman, she's just amazing.
Looks good. I mean, there's definitely talk of this being a target render as well.
I mean, dude, look at that, man. Holy crap.
Right, but again, temper yourself. Like, there's people who are saying that this is a target render the same.
That would be really disappointing.
It would be. And again, I do think, judging by Hellblade 2...
Sunuku just brought up ECTS. Wow.
ECTS. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Gamescom before it was Gamescom. Wow. I haven't heard anyone mention ECTS in like 15 years. Sunuku, that's how we know you're an OG. That's awesome. Look, he's talking about Cliff and a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Yep. Times were different. There's no doubt about it. This game is, I'm hyped beyond for this. I wish we had a more solid release date for it.
I need to see gameplay.
Yeah.
I need to see more, like, how does it work?
It's like just a chunk of the game being
I
played.
just need to know what you're doing to the combo system, how the magic and everything works together. Like, what is she doing here with the dodge? I'm like, that's cool. That looks cool, but it looks canned. That looks cool, but it looks canned. That looks cool, but it looks canned. Like, I don't feel like I've seen any gameplay here except raising those the boggarts or whatever those are up and shooting them with the bow. That looked legit.
There's clips in the last trailer that were definitely gameplay.
I need to see what the
But
gameplay
again,
is.
the combat does look like it's like isolated skirmishes instead of you're just out in the open world and there's just enemies roaming everywhere. It seems like it's all kind of set up, but we'll see. That's the next step here.
I think it's. I mean, to me, I get the impression, if I had to guess, I'd say it's sort of like Hogwarts Legacy, where you run into kind of little battles out there, you know, and you kind of feel like little self-contained fights, but they're all scattered throughout the open world kind of thing.
Could be.
That would be my guess of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was making Fable, I would definitely take that element of Hogwarts Legacy's world building as sort of a
template.
pattern.
Yeah.
You know, make it feel like you run like little nests of things. And the other ones did that a little bit. I just hope that they've got like some idea of how to like make the quest. It always just felt like run to the thing, follow the golden trail, run to the thing, follow the dog, run to the thing.
Yeah.
Like, will there be a dog? Doesn't look like there's a dog.
Yeah, so far.
I don't know. Like,
I think we have a grand total of 7 minutes of footage of the game so far, so there's a lot to show.
It looks great. I like the tone. I think both trailers are very funny. Like, it's working for me. in a way that a lot of the humor in the originals didn't.
Yeah,
I think it's actually
it did
better.
fall flat a lot of times. Yeah.
I think the humor in this is actually smarter. It feels like, or at least better, like a little more subtle to it.
Yeah.
I'm curious who the she is.
Yeah.
That he's talking about in this, because early on
it's her, isn't it?
No.
It's not her.
It's the villain.
Oh, it's the villain.
At the very end, that whoever that person who shows up on the side and says this has been a while, and you see her hand, like that's who they're talking.
Oh, I thought it was her, the main character.
The main character comes back and says she's here.
Oh,
that's her. That's your.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh crap! Oh, I thought she was the one.
You're apprenticing to him to stop whoever this other apprentice of his was. That's what I got.
I thought you were his enemy.
No.
Interesting.
No,
I didn't pick up on that. Okay. So anyway, we have no release date other than 2025, but I'll be drafting it next year.
Sure.
10th round maybe, but I'll draft it. So anyway, that's Fable.
Yeah, if you want to pick that first, go right ahead. That's not I'm going first, but I'm not gonna pick that one first.
Next year is shaping up to be a damn good year of video games, man. It's kind of looking like 2023 all over again. So
hopefully they don't all fall to 2026.
Which could happen, obviously. So that's Fable. Next up, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Basically, they just showed, they start off with a montage or whatever, but eventually this just settles into like a chunk of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get
a chunk of cutscene more than
but you kind of get the gist of the flow of the game and that type of thing, which we hadn't really understood yet until we saw this.
I still don't really feel like I understand it. I feel like I got a lot more of the flavor and the tone of how this game's gonna try to recreate the Indiana Jones flavor more than I got the feeling of how it's gonna play. Which is good. It's good. Like the scene on the battleship with the Nazis, like that's great.
Yeah,
like that felt more like Indiana Jones than anything in Dial of Destiny to me.
It does make me wonder if this game is going to be a collection of moments instead of a game.
That is certainly a concern.
Do you remember the Mission Impossible game for N64?
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like that. It wasn't like you were in some world and you traveled from one location to another. You just get sent into a mission at this place.
A thing and stuff happens and you go to the next place.
Right.
I mean, level based.
Yeah, and I do wonder if maybe.
I mean, the red line on the map that is Indiana Jones is famous for really does lend itself to that sort of structure. So it could maybe. I mean, I don't.
It can still be great that way.
Could be. I mean, I don't know. See, here's the thing. Like this whole scene is great. Like this is pure Indiana Jones. Yeah. One of my favorite things in this is actually where the ship's tilting down and the other Nazi like soldier guy gets in the way and he gets hit by the box and thrown off the ship instead of the main Nazi guy. And Indy and the main Nazi guy look at each other like, yeah, we dodged that shit. Like it was like
that's Indiana Jones.
Pure Indiana Jones, absolutely. And then Indy just knocks him down. I'm like, great, awesome, fantastic.
Is the whole game's that way?
Like this,
awesome.
Like in terms of cinematics and tone and the guy doing the Indy impression, like. Awesome, they nailed it. They're nailing it. They're nailing it. All that stuff.
But is it a good game?
The way all this stuff, the way everything builds on itself, the way like you get cut off by this, and then they slowly sort of work their way through, and then you think she's betraying him, and then boom, there's a grenade, and then and that blows that thing up, and then the whole ship starts to fall. Yeah. It's like flawless.
That's Indy.
Flawless Indiana Jones. Flawless Indiana Jones blocking. Fantastic. Yeah. And not every game has ever pulled that. Not every movie pulls that off.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last two Indiana Jones movies have been abysmal.
So awesome, they got that. But I still don't feel like I understand how this game works in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Like I see the first-person whipping, I see the swinging, I see the puzzle stuff, I see all that.
But how does it all tie together?
How does it all fit together?
Yeah,
how does it all work?
That's the big X factor for sure.
I mean, look, it's a long time before it comes out. We're gonna get another demo of that, I'm sure, where they get into the nitty-gritty.
Steven says they showed gameplay earlier this year, but they didn't.
Like, they did, but it's like not enough to get
but it's like
taste.
chopped together. Yeah. It's like it's not
a taste. It doesn't give you you need a vertical slice demo.
Yeah, I want to just see a chunk of the game being played.
And you solve a couple puzzles and you fight some Nazis and then you find the thing and then the thing falls apart and you have to
got to run out.
You got to do the three main Indiana Jones things: exploration, discovery, fighting Nazis, and getting out alive.
And running from a big stone ball.
They show that.
They do.
That is in it. Somehow, apparently, we're doing that. He's even holding the idol. I don't know how they get to that, but
and that's why I'm wondering if it is maybe a collection of like greatest hits moments or something.
I don't think this because it's too far apart in terms of setting.
Yeah.
But that made me wonder if they've just done. As like a bonus thing, you can just play the big set pieces of the original movies.
That would be kind of cool.
Like you can play that opening scene, you can play the tank chase in Crusade, you could play the minecart scene. Like if they just done those as sort of standalone little moments, that would be pretty cool.
I agree. Yeah, it would be cool. But anyway, there's a lot of mystery around this game. We don't really know the answers to a lot of stuff. We don't even know its release date.
This did make me more confident in it, just in terms of that they get Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
they clearly understand what they're making here.
But all we have is a generic 2024 release date.
Yep.
So we'll see. Hopefully it makes it.
And they've said this. When did they say? They said December specifically at some point.
It was hinted at like December. I think it maybe appeared on a release schedule for a retailer or something.
Like I had an actual date in my head for this, and I was like, that's real close to the end of the year. Like releasing that like 2 weeks before Christmas is
dicey,
weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't draft it. I'll put it to you that way. Next up, well, at least as far as their show is concerned, it was Assassin's Creed Shadows, but we're going to talk about that in a minute in depth when we talk about Ubisoft. So we'll skip that. But next up, I think maybe the game that made the biggest impact of all of the games at the Xbox show, Dragon Age: The Veiled Guard. I think a lot of it may have to do with the fact that they showed so much of it. So first they put out a trailer, and then they put out this huge chunk, like 16 minutes, that literally just shows them playing the damn game. Matt, you're a big Dragon Age fan. What are you thinking now?
I'm not a big Dragon Age fan.
Well,
but
you selectively have been.
I have very strong opinions about Dragon Age.
Once upon a time, I think you were a pretty big fan.
No.
Really?
I hated the first game.
I thought you did. I thought you liked it.
I hate Dragon Age.
Oh, okay. I got them.
I think it's one of the worst RPGs I've ever played. I hate it. And I liked 2 okay, and I thought Inquisition was good.
Yeah.
I am a Mass Effect fan who plays Dragon Age because there's nothing else to play.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Well, the trailer shows off the classes that you can play as.
Yeah.
And then they give you this big
these are your companions.
Yeah.
So, Emmerich the Necromancer. I like that the one Kunari one is just, his name is Trash. Like, okay.
They're like, well, we can't think of anything, so...
Kunari are weird. It wouldn't surprise me if he named himself that, or they made him, I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing I do think is that the art style is so different. It's good.
It doesn't look like Dragon Age, really.
No, it's good. I like the art style, but it's so different from what... Like, I don't even recognize that as Varric.
I know.
Like,
I agree with you.
Like, I cannot reconcile that being Varric plus what he looked like in Dragon Age 2. Like, it just doesn't track. And I think this looks better. I think he looks better here. I think everybody really looks better in terms of returning characters so far, the two of them at least. But, like, it's so different. It's I only recognized him in the beginning because he had Bianca, his crossbow.
Mighty Pony Girl says Tash is a lady Kunari because DA fans want Big Steppy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kunari Mama is here.
It's 9 years after Inquisition.
Yeah. 10. Gotta be 10.
It's crazy.
2014. I remember.
That's nuts. But then they show the gameplay.
Or maybe she means it's set 9 years after, which might also, because he is older.
Right. Yeah. And now we're starting to see the gameplay. And this is what the game actually looks like. The trailer was legit.
It's a lot more character action than I was expecting.
Yeah.
In terms of the fighting and stuff. I mean, it looks great.
It really looks great. Yeah. Cooperative play, which is going to be a big hit. It has been in the past. But yeah, basically they're like, okay, here's this trailer. People are like, oh, that trailer, that's probably not real. And they're like, oh, here's 15 minutes of the game in action.
And it's also good because the trailer has a there's a stylization to it, and there's a kind of a Fortnite look to it where everybody's popping in and being introduced with big titles and stuff. And then here's like, oh, here's just BioWare game.
A really dark action RPG that you're going to play with your friends. Yeah.
The fact that they just set all the press people, it's like, here, play it for an hour. Like, go on. Like, they definitely have confidence.
There's a confidence about it. Yep, absolutely. And I like to see that from developers. It's almost always a good sign. This also does not have a specific date, but they did say fall 2024. Think it's going to make it?
Yes.
I do too, because of the confidence of what they've shown and the way that they handled interviews. I also think it's going to make it this year for sure. Again, I wish this were on my fantasy team, but I did not have the guts to draft it back in January, unfortunately.
I do not think the demos are hands-off, Vincent. I'm pretty sure I saw people say they played it.
Really?
I feel like I read people saying they played it.
Hands-on, hands-off. It's not that big a deal. I feel like people who aren't in the press make a bigger deal about it. There have been examples, obviously, where it didn't work out great, like with Cyberpunk 2077, where they showed a demo to the press that blew everyone away, and then we never saw anything like that in the actual game. But that happens very rarely. That is an anomaly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of... I know there's people that were really not happy about that trailer, but, like...
Why?
Because it was weird and funky and appealing to the
And
youth,
fun.
and had Fortnite stuff. The art style had the, but like Dragon Age has always had weird trailers. And remember, the first game was advertised with fucking heavy metal in the commercials.
That's right.
Like,
yeah.
None of the marketing for these games has ever made any sense compared to what's actually in the game.
I feel like it's kind of hard to encapsulate this franchise in trailers and TV commercials.
Not only do you have to sell like this big sprawling BioWare RPG, but you got to make this honestly this incredibly generic high fantasy setting look different from every other high fantasy setting. And one of the ways in that original game was to show how fucking much blood there was in it, because everybody. I forgot
how gory that was.
That was one of my favorite things about that game. Was like you'd have all these fights, and then you get in a cutscene, and your character just standing there, super calm, covered from head to toe in blood.
It's Baldur's Gate 3 is like that. Yeah.
I mean, they've all done that. Yeah.
But I think this looks great. My excitement for this game definitely jumped up a couple notches. I'm very confident it is going to come out this year. And wow, EA's going to release a damn video game, Matt. Can you believe it?
Yeah, who knew?
It's not Madden or FIFA. So it's crazy. Like, how long has it been since EA's released a game like this?
Andromeda?
Maybe. It might have been. That's crazy. But somehow EA, with all its Ultimate Team money, is just keeps on trudging forward. But anyway, that's Dragon Age, the Veilguard, coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series, fall of this year. But that's the closest we got to a release date. Again, I think that game's looking great. Another game in this presser that I was pleasantly surprised by. And that's great. That's what makes a good press conference, when you see stuff that you're excited about and it impresses you. Now we're going to get to some of the smaller stuff. First up, State of Decay 3. I don't know why this was in here, Matt.
Yeah, I'm surprised this was here.
It's just I'm
more surprised this was here than Perfect Dark.
Yeah, it's just another CG trailer. Like, do we need one? We get it.
I mean, this is in engine.
Really?
That's what it said.
Is that what it said?
Right.
I missed that.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
I'm going to rewind it.
In-game footage and cinematics.
And cinematics, right?
Yeah, but in-game means it's rendered in the engine.
Oh. I would be really surprised if this game looks this good. I mean, have you looked at Undead Labs' other games?
I mean, I think this is about where you're going to get... I mean, the question is not whether it looks as good, period. It's whether it runs properly.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I have no problem believing the models and everything look like this.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, models in their other games have not looked good.
This is not their other games. This is a brand new set of technology, brand new engine, brand new everything.
Yeah.
I have no problem believing that this is what they were able to build in a new Unreal or Unreal 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But how's it going to run? That's my question. Because this is obviously not pure recorded from a system.
I mean, this game looks so much better than the last one. It's in another league.
I'm glad that little, like, please help me call didn't happen while I was sneaking up on that zombie.
Right.
I've been very
funny
awkward.
how that always works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again...
I like these games. Like,
me too. Once they patch them up a little bit.
Yeah, they've always been a little... I mean, not a little janky, but, like... it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is such a cool idea. It's too bad that didn't work, and my car disappeared, and all my guns fell apart, and like it's like, and like I built that thing in my base before, and now it's gone. Like that happens a lot. And I loaded it up a month or two ago, and I tried to load it up, and it kept crashing in the same place, and I had to start a new game and let it repopulate whatever it was doing, and then load the old save, and then it worked.
Yeah.
Just because I hadn't loaded it up since 2020, so it had been through enough updates that it was like incompatible with the modern update in my old save.
Yeah.
So I had to like update it some other way. It was just, it's so the weirdest thing about it was it crashed in the same place on the Xbox and on my PC. I have never seen that before.
Wow.
Whatever it was crashing both versions of the game on two different platforms.
Yeah.
So figure that one out, boys.
For those of you who don't know, this is not Resident Evil. It's not Left 4 Dead. It's a survival game.
Yeah.
An open world zombie survival game where you build like your homestead and like you set up traps for zombies. And you have to defend your homestead from zombie invasions. And
I do like what they're doing here in this trailer. They're talking about like she's getting the souvenir from the guy who died, because one of the things, you're kind of running a community, and you do start in like in State of Decay 2, you pick like a set of two characters at the beginning, and it doesn't really matter at the beyond, like you basically you're determining what kind of skills you start with to start your little survivor community, because when you get into the game, your characters you originally picked just become another two of your characters in your survivor camp, basically.
Yeah.
You level everybody up, and they might be the best ones you have for a while, but like people are going to die, characters are going to come in, and characters are going to leave, and like you will have your favorites, but you will not have like the story doesn't center around those characters beyond the tutorial, basically. Yeah. So the idea that like and it always was a little cold when like these characters that had been around in your game for like 10 hours would die and then nobody reacts to it. Like it's like the idea that maybe this game is going to like deal with the idea that like maybe there's a little, it looks like there's a little like kind of memorial wall or something. The idea that like characters you've had a long time that died then sort of still have some kind of presence in your community. Like that's a cool, that's a good upgrade. That's a good way to take kind of like a little like extra thing in this game, because there's so much potential in what these games do, and it always feels like you just sort of have to meet it halfway and buckle down and be ready to sort of deal with a bunch of nonsense and sort of
fight through it
because there's nothing else quite like these games.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned like to people, this isn't Resident Evil, this isn't Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, there's nothing else like
it's its
like
own
this.
thing. Yep.
If you can, it goes on sale on everything for pretty cheap.
It's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass. It's on like Steam Summer Sale. It'll probably be like $14 for the Ultimate Edition or something, maybe less.
Yeah.
Give it a try. If you care at all about zombie stuff, give it a try.
Yeah, you should.
It's very good.
Yep. Okay, we got to pick up the pace. So I'm just gonna list a game, and you just give me a couple sentences on what you thought of it. Mm-hmm. Starfield Shattered Space.
Sure. Cool.
This really impressed me. I was like, this is what I thought Starfield was gonna be.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this sure, I'll play this. It looks cool. Messing with the gravity, messing with all this weird stuff, messing with like the weird, multi-dimensional shit. Awesome. Whatever you want to do.
The big mystery.
I'll play more Starfield. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good. The main thing they need to do, and we'll get into it with Ubisoft and all that, you have got to find a way to make planetary landings seamless in this game. There is the biggest takeaway I had from anything in that Ubisoft thing was like how much that takeoff in Star Wars Outlaws sells that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like if Starfield could take you from orbit to, even if it's automatic, because I think in Outlaws it's automatic. I think you're just taking off and it's taking you out. It's like a load screen. Almost.
It seemed like it loads in the clouds.
In the clouds, and then you kind of. But it still matters. It still counts.
I think people who don't know games like we do will be totally fooled.
But that transition sells something that just isn't there in Starfield.
Yeah.
And I think Starfield, because like that mid-May update added the ability to kind of look at the planetary map in a more more detailed way, so you can pick your landing points better and move around while you're on the planet. You can move around specifically, which makes it a lot easier to find the right biome where you need to scan the last fucking one goddamn fish. Thank you for finally adding that 6 months later or 8 months later, whatever it was. But there's an element to that to me looking at that. I'm like, okay, so you've got the space and you've got the planet and you've got the planetary scan map and you've got the lower planetary scan map and now you've got the ground map and then you've got the play area.
Yeah.
If you can just figure out a way to transition between those 5 things back and forth, you are going to sell the setting of that game so much better than it does right now.
Big story DLC every year, according to Todd Howard.
Well, figure the fucking landings out first.
Yeah, they'll have time.
So like a lot of this is cool, but it's like they're close to something here, and I hope they get there. I don't know if that engine can handle or what. I'm not a game developer. I don't know anything about that stuff, so maybe I'm completely out of left field on this one. But it doesn't seem to me like it'd be impossible to figure out a background loading and a transition scheme to get from space to ground with all the levels of detail they have right now. Because No Man's Sky does it real fast, real simple. You don't control exactly the descent into the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere, but it just makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
And the disconnect between space and ground in Starfield is one of its biggest tonal problems right now, I
agree.
think.
Yep. Okay, we got to move on. Avowed story trailer.
Cool.
Should have shown this. Should have been the first trailer for an RPG. I feel like we finally saw the frickin' game with this.
Yeah, it does. You feel. I'm just really, I know it's the Pillars of Eternity universe, so it's not like it's a surprise, but I'm just really happy there's so much color in this.
Yeah. You finally get to see, you can play it in third person as well if you want
to. This is the best cover in years. I might get a physical copy of this game just for this cover.
Yeah.
It's so weird and gross and cool and creepy. Like, I love the cover of this game.
I think this game's not going to do well.
Neither do I. But I think I'm going to like it.
I think it might be enjoyable. I don't think people are going to care. It's just too lifeless and bland. It's just like generic fantasy RPG.
It's not, though.
Yeah.
Like, this world is so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this in part because the Pillars of Eternity universe deserves to be portrayed
to have this
at this fidelity and in this with your boots on the ground and not a 3/4 perspective.
Yeah.
Thing. Like, that was really The only thing Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire was missing was being able to really get down into the world like that. So I'm excited about that. And it's Obsidian. I'm basically expecting like a fantasy version of Outer Worlds, which I also liked a lot.
I mean, you're probably right, and I'd be okay with that.
It was smaller than a Skyrim. It doesn't need to be. It
takes you
it
20
did its
hours.
thing well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to occupy my fucking life for 4 months.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer games like that at this point.
Yeah.
Next up, Stalker 2. It is coming out this year, Matt, and this pretty much sealed my fate in the fantasy league.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It is coming out on September 5th. Kudos to the team for making this under the duress that they created this game under. It's amazing that they were able to make a game knowing what was going on in their homeland. But it is coming out on the 5th. This trailer, there was some to me, as someone who kind of follows the war in Ukraine through social media, there were some disturbing shots towards the end of this that literally looked like they were lifted straight out of the war footage.
Oh, they're exercising some demons in this game.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an intense game. And their games typically are intense and challenging. But it is coming out this year. It's coming out on September 5th. And then what else was there? There's a couple smaller games. They showed the Metal Gear Delta or whatever.
Metal Gear thing, yeah.
We don't need to discuss that, really.
There was that one turn-based game. What was that? That looks interesting.
Which turn-based game?
The turn-based RPG, but there's a lot of like button pressing and like parrying and stuff in it. I can't remember what the name of it was.
Flintlock?
Yes.
Yeah, that game looked good. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
I'll give you a spoiler on this one. Every single game they showed in this is interesting to me.
Yeah.
I want to play every single thing they showed in this.
Here's South of Midnight.
And this looks great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't understand one thing. Why the cutscenes in this, everything looks so choppy, and when they show the gameplay, it's smooth.
It's butter. I don't know.
I don't know if that's a choice or if it's
but you're right.
an interpolation problem. Like, because when it switches to the gameplay, it's super smooth.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a choice or if it's like the codec did something weird to the cutscenes because they're at a different frame rate or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
But this looks great. Super interested. I'm every single mixtape looks really cool.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw a presentation video game showcase thing and every single thing was interesting to me.
It was incredible, Matt.
Every single thing.
Even now, like a week later, and I've had time to really digest it and look at this stuff over and over, I think it might be one of the top 2 or 3 E3 press conferences ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally from wall to wall, just bangers.
Everything. Yeah.
Just incredible. I gave it an A++. We all three of us did.
I gave it an A+.
It's incredible.
Yeah, A+ easily.
It makes me wonder, Matt, if Microsoft had stuck to its guns, if maybe it made a mistake going the Game Pass route, because now that all these studios are coming to fruition, like, it may be able to compete on the old model, like exclusive for exclusive with PlayStation. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know.
Winter Burrow also looks cool.
I could go on and on.
Yeah.
We could spend a whole episode just talking about this press conference.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good it was. I mean, it go on. Adam Fall looked pretty cool.
Yeah, Adam Fall looks
Expedition 33 looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything. Flintlock, as you said. Like, the Diablo 4 stuff they showed was awesome. Winter Burrow looked sweet. Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 looked good. I mean, all of it. Just incredible. So,
and like Microsoft, and not even just because Microsoft Flight Simulator always looks good. The fact that there's careers and there's a purpose and there's a guiding, like, where you're trying to do, like, I'm like, that might get me to actually play it seriously, other than just load it up and look how pretty it is.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of want to fly a cargo plane.
Yeah.
To remote locations and land it. Like, that looked really neat.
One hell of a press conference, man.
Yeah.
Just wall-to-wall bangers. So, great job, Xbox. Like, look, I've criticized Phil Spencer and that team for years, but I'm also going to compliment them when they do something right, and they nailed it.
I feel like they really wanted this to be last year's.
Yeah.
And it just
couldn't
work
happen.
out.
Yeah. Yep.
But this was a
really auspicious.
Fucking burn the house down with this thing.
Really good. Yep.
I was so not expecting that, but I don't remember the last time a game presentation surprised me so much.
Yeah. It was great.
And I didn't see, again,
like,
I didn't watch.
Is this real?
I didn't watch this till yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I was seeing on social media all these things about this. I'm like, was that in the Xbox thing? What the fuck happened? Like I was shocked.
Also, Life is Strange was in there too.
Yeah.
Like, and that we mentioned that earlier. So yeah.
The only thing I watched before was the Dragon Age stuff, because they did the extra game.
Yeah. Yep. So great job, Xbox. Again, like, I really feel like maybe it could have changed. They really could have stuck with the old model and maybe been successful Retro Modern Gamer says Xbox was doom and gloom this year and it turned it around with E3. Yeah, I mean, all the stuff, that's what made it so unlikely, Matt. All the stuff leading up to it, and Phil Spencer, finally other people saying, hey, maybe Phil Spencer should be fired. All that stuff leading up to this, and then kaboom. Like, and he knew all along that this was coming.
Yeah.
That we're going to just completely murder E3. Like, just amazing stuff. So, great job, Xbox. Great job, Microsoft. We'll see if all this stuff plays out the way that we hope. We'll see. Next up, we're going to talk about the Ubisoft Forward press conference, but just 2 games, because that's really all that's worth talking about. We're going to discuss Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's start with Outlaws. Showed a huge chunk of gameplay, both games, but also showed a huge chunk of gameplay for Outlaws. Matt, we've talked about this game a lot already. What sort of about the demo that Ubisoft showed sort of maybe shaped or changed your opinion a little bit?
I mean, it pretty much looks like the game we thought it was.
Yeah.
I would argue. I mean, it looks great.
It does.
It looks phenomenal. I've said before, I don't really like the smuggler sort of scoundrel underworld element of Star Wars is the least interesting element of Star Wars to me.
I agree.
But this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of, I mean, obviously there's a lot of the underworld, so like that stuff doesn't interest me so much as walking around the world of Star Wars. Walking around, getting in the ship, flying out, going to a new planet. You know, there's 5 planets in this, and they all look pretty robust. And obviously different biomes, different locations. There's a city one, there's Tatooine, there's this snow one, there's a beautiful forest one, and I'm sure that they mentioned 4 in this, and there's a 5th one, maybe the last one.
They've talked about that in interviews, yeah.
But you know, it does look pretty standard Ubi open world. You know,
I would be into this game and want to buy this game, even if it weren't Star Wars. Just standalone on its own, it's an interesting open world game.
Yeah, if you just made this like Splinter Cell, I'd still play it.
Yeah,
you know, for sure. But because it's Star Wars, I am more interested.
This was some new elements that I didn't realize were in the game. Using your little sidekick to distract and do other attack.
They've shown some of that in the back, not to this degree, like dropping the chandelier on the guy. Like he's much more involved than I thought he would be.
Yep.
And obviously the upgrade system is going to pull me in. I got to do 4 of these and 5 of these and talk to them 4 times and stab 4 guys. Oh yeah, and people are like, how come she doesn't have any flamethrowers or jetpack? Like, you really think there's no flamethrower jetpack in that fucking skill tree, guys?
Come on. I think the one criticism, I mentioned this when I talked about it with Pac and Marcus, was that it doesn't have enough of the Star Wars, the recognizable Star Wars characters for me. But you do notice, like, the trailers, they always show Jabba. This shows Lando.
See, as a big Star Wars, the lack of recognizable characters in this is one of the best things about it.
Oh, okay.
I want new things. I don't want things attached to the Skywalker saga anymore. I want to see what else was happening in the galaxy. We have seen enough of that. I've
never played a game like this with the original trilogy characters, you know?
Yeah, but I don't need to, because they're too locked into their own world.
Yeah, I would like to, though.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I think you're too locked into what they can do, and like you can't make Luke become a real Jedi because basically the time you would do that game would be between the first movie and Empire, because there's 3 years between those two. Yeah. And even Han taught in Empire, he's like, you know, the bounty hunter we ran into Ord Mantell changed my mind. You could definitely, I mean, there's a whole comic series that covers that whole thing now. But you can't really progress the characters beyond where they are there and then have them suddenly, Luke was a really good Jedi for like 5 days in between those movies, but in Empire he forgot all of it. You know? You're just too limited. I think going outside of that and sort of, because like all the other thing about Star Wars that's always interesting to me, in terms of the spin-off stuff, is seeing how life works in because the galaxy's horrible. Like and seeing how regular
people, the towns and the planets,
the towns does where people sleep, what people eat, like the tavern in Jedi Survivor was great. I love seeing all the people hanging out and like what daily life is like, and the bread that Rey makes at the beginning of Force Awakens is one of the most fascinating things ever. I'm like, oh, I want to try. Maybe I don't want to try it. It was kind of green. It probably doesn't taste very good.
You can try it at Disney.
I don't want to live in the Star Wars universe because it seems horrible. But like the more you can see about kind of the little nitty gritty things in this is more interesting to me. And her sort of making her way through all this nonsense, like that's interesting to me. How she's going to navigate the various places and the various worlds and the various characters. Very into that. Like I mean, it does look like Lando's in that Sabacc game.
He is Lando is in this. So we've seen Lando and we've seen Jabba so far. So there's some, but
So we may see some kind of element
There
of
might
this.
be more, you know?
Yeah,
We just don't know yet.
I would be surprised if you didn't cross paths with Han.
Yeah.
No, actually you won't because it's between Empire and Jedi.
Oh, right.
So he's frozen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Although, maybe him being frozen in carbonite with Jabba, and maybe there's some element of that. So,
well, maybe I could possibly see you helping Lando get into the palace in preparation for Return of the
Somebody
Jedi.
had to. Yeah.
Like distracting that while he sneaks in and steals the guards. And he doesn't need to steal it because he has that helmet in the Falcon. We saw it in Solo.
Yeah.
And he's still wearing his yellow outfits.
Yeah.
So at least he didn't have to borrow Han's clothes the whole time.
Yeah.
It's one of the weirdest things at the end of Empire. I mean, maybe it's just because I think he's Corellian, so maybe they just like the outfit Corellians wear. But he's wearing Han's clothes.
Uh-huh.
He's wearing the vest.
Right.
And like, is that yours or is it like was it in the closet and you just took
that
it?
standard
like,
issue.
That just. Like, I mean, they are about the same size, so I guess so. But it's just like I just thought that was odd.
Yeah. So look, this showing it just kind of solidified my interest, but it didn't skyrocket or spike it.
No, I mean, it's not as interesting to me as say like if you're gonna give me a choice between like this and like Jedi 3.
Yeah.
I would probably pick Jedi 3 just because I like Force stuff more than this stuff. But first open world Star Wars game, you know, first ability to just jump in a ship and fly off somewhere and go somewhere, like awesome. Like the GTA style, like get 6 stars and they're gonna send death troopers and orbital strikes after you. Awesome. Like I'm going to play around in this game a lot longer than it's gonna take me to finish it.
The little critter stuff.
He's adorable.
Is really prevalent. Prevalent. Like I was surprised how often Ubisoft, when it played this for its B-roll footage, used it. And obviously I'm gonna be doing the same thing. So that was the one thing that struck me the most of this demo.
I'm gonna need a stuffed one of those.
Yep, and a robotic one of those. And
and a robo one of those, and a Muppet one for Disneyland.
Yeah.
Somebody can carry it around and talk to people. Like you're gonna need to deliver on that one, boys.
Yep.
They finally just got some of the BD droids.
Did they?
Running around Galaxy's Edge now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't seen them, but I saw footage of them.
That's cool.
They only come out at certain times. They got little handlers that kind of hang back and control them with like things.
I've seen footage of that too. It seems like they're operating on their own, but they have chaperones.
They're being moved around. Yeah, all the droids work like that, and they can jump. Like it's very cute.
Yeah, it is cool. But this game looks great. It's coming pretty soon. We don't have to wait very long for it in August 30th, I think it is.
I mean, there's just something satisfying about shooting a stormtrooper.
There really is, and I'll never get sick of it.
Yeah,
it's like punching a Nazi in the face. I'll never get sick of it.
They're space Nazis. So
That's right.
Very, very intentional analog there.
And then Ubisoft's only other game worth discussing in this show was to show off these 2 games, Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I comparing what I said with Outlaws to this. After watching this demo, I was definitely way more hyped for this game than I was beforehand. Playing as the samurai in this, I'm trying to figure out, like, am I going to play more as a samurai? Am I play more as a shinobi? I think it's going to be the samurai for me, man. Blunt Force Trauma. He looks so powerful. Like,
yeah, I'm not as into the Kenobo Club, but I do like how the sword fighting looks in this.
Yeah,
it's
brutal.
Very different, very much more like having to kind of predict and block the combo beyond just one hit is this is the most different I think Assassin's Creed combat has been since 2.
Yeah, for sure.
However, you go over and look at Naue and it's like, oh, she plays like the assassin I always wanted Assassin's Creed to play like, so that's a tough pick.
It is, yeah. And in the way they play, it's so different. Like a lot of it's really going to come down to what you enjoy. And I love the force that this guy has, man. When he lands one of his blows, it's just like, hot damn, you just shattered that dude's entire torso. Like,
I mean, I kept thinking, watching some of this, I'm just like, he's like Luke Cage. Look how much bigger he is than everybody else.
But he's also like a gentle giant.
Oh yeah, I like his personification so far. I like the relationship between him and Naue.
Yeah,
like they're kind of like allies, and they have a sort of.
They both figure out that each has like strengths and weaknesses, and I had actually not noticed when I first watched this how the switching works. Like I think I was like typing notes or whatever. I missed the whole point where you actually choose between the two of them.
Yeah.
For each mission. I mean, there's going to be incentive to replay this game again more than most Assassin's Creeds. I mean, because the mission, how you play it with these 2 characters, entirely different.
Totally different mission.
Yeah, it's like playing a different game. So it's been a long time since there's been an open world game where it felt like you could play it 2 different ways, and it would be worthwhile to go back and play it again. Because a lot of times games like this will make you choose between one or the other, and you have to stick with that character through the whole game, not let you switch between each like mission. And my other question, Matt, maybe you figured this out. I still haven't. Can you switch whenever you want? Like when you're out in the open world just riding around on a horse, can I just switch to Naue if I want to?
I would think so, yeah.
I don't think we have the answer to that yet, though.
I don't think we do, but I would be surprised if you couldn't.
Yeah. It seems like you should be able to.
Yeah. I think you can. I think you're locked in once you pick for an actual story mission. I think you're with that character until you finish. I wouldn't be surprised if there are missions where you're jumping back and forth as well. Like I'm sure there are missions where you're kind of both doing parallel things, and maybe he has to like distract guys in the front gate, and so she can get over here, and then she deactivates something so he can get through one gate, and then he has to do the big fight against the guy because she can't block.
Right.
She can only deflect. Or not? Was it? Yeah, deflect. So he can block and parry. She can only deflect. She's not a fighter.
How do you like this? Like the goes to like grayscale for the finishers.
I like that. It's got a nice it's got a little bit of a Chambara look to it.
Yep.
It's got a nice homage.
Yeah. Didn't see a lot of the open world in this.
No, there's not much open world. Just the riding in. You do get to see a lot of the clutter in the grounds, like the fruit flying everywhere, and like just how much interact. I mean, there are people that saying this doesn't look better than Valhalla, and that's crazy. Like this looks night and day to Valhalla to me. Like the amount of characters on screen, the density of the city,
the junk laying around
the
everywhere,
destructible everything. Yeah. Like it's just I'd never. That
was one of the coolest things when he's in the middle of the fight and he just hits a cart and stuff just goes
everywhere,
haywire everywhere. Like
it's a big jump here for the series. Like,
I mean, just look at the character models; they look better too. Like I don't know what they're talking about.
Look at all the armor moving independently.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
So into it.
This game, this demo got me even more into this game. I am really freaking excited for it. And this comes November 15th?
November 15th.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm over the moon for this. Both Ubisoft games, I'm over the moon for. Like,
yeah, they both look great.
This is going to be a great end of the year, man. I'm pretty excited.
And especially because it seems pretty clear now that we're getting both of them this year.
Yeah.
Like I was worried this was going to slip and Outlaws would move to November and that would be all we get. But now
always happening.
Just got to wait 2 more months for Outlaws, and then and as this comes to a few months after that, like great.
We've been dragging our asses here for the middle part of this year, but the year's going to finish with a flurry. I'm pretty happy about that. Silkshanks asked, "Where the hell is Beyond Good and Evil Remastered?" What do you mean? Where is like?
Where's
Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Well, 2 doesn't exist in any real shape or form.
But I mean.
They remastered's coming at some point.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Where's fucking Sands of Time?
Yeah.
I mean, they showed it.
Well, they showed it. It's not coming until like late next year or something.
If that, like,
right.
It was interesting to me how hard they hit Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
And I guess the Lost Crown didn't do so bad if it's getting story DLC.
I think that was probably already in the works or whatever.
Maybe, but I mean, they've killed stuff before.
Yeah.
Even what was? I just remember. I'm never gonna remember there was some game that. Oh, Mad Max. Mad Max. Apparently, that game apparently sold so poorly because it came out the same day as like a Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
That sold so poorly that one of the Avalanche guys said they had at least 2 story DLC expansions finished.
Wow.
And and Warner Brothers Interactive killed it, like wouldn't let them release it.
This has got a little bit of Splinter Cell in it.
Oh yeah, there's some Splinter Cell there.
Taking out
all her stuff here is really cool. The Kasarigama, the sickle on the chain is
I love
incredibly cool.
Yeah.
Just both the way she maneuvers with it and the way she can pull herself through, and the way she fights with it by holding off like 4 guys at the end of this clip. Like she's great. Like
game's looking hot.
She's a new standard for how assassins work in this series. Like I'm curious.
It's like you said, we've been waiting for this for a really long time.
Yeah, I know she's a ninja and all, but like I feel like this changes expectations of how assassins are going to play from now on.
Yeah, I hope it does.
And it kind of delivers on the promise of in Syndicate when they had their the grappling hook things, which were pretty limited. Yeah, she can play with physics in this. She's not limited to canned animations like they were. So like it opens up a lot of stuff here, and the fact that you can knock people out is funny. Even this little sequence where she like knocks this person out and then runs through here and then jumps in the seal. Like there's so much more happening here than in your average Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, this demo is freaking awesome. They did a great job of showing both characters their strengths and their weaknesses, why you may choose one over the other. Just a really, really good gameplay demo to show.
And when she assassinates the main guy, I love that she cuts his Achilles tendon first.
Oh,
it's so good.
It gives me the chills. But yeah, I don't know which I'm more excited for at this point, Outlaws or Shadows. Each one I'm really excited for different reasons. But I can't wait to play both of them. So finally, Ubisoft is delivering. It's going to have a great fourth quarter here coming up. So what would you give Ubisoft's Forward? Because it's tough. It has those 2 games that are freaking awesome, and then the rest is like...
And some of it's... all the Prince of Persia stuff looks decent.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give it a B+.
It's about right. Yeah. 2 big games like that, that's enough for an independent.
If you show me some Beyond Good and Evil remastered or something, I might give it an A.
Yeah. I'm sure they thought that the Sands of Time remake was like that their...
No, I don't... I mean, you can only tease me so long. I'm curious about that one because, like I think I said before, I feel like at this point you just you make a game called Sands of Time that deals with time travel that has almost nothing to do with it. It's definitely, you can't just remake it. You can't just remake the same game again.
Yeah.
You got to make a new game that uses the same ideas because that game doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
It's been surpassed so many times.
It's true. Yep. So there you go. That's Matt's take on Ubisoft Forward 2024. And now it's time for New York Sneaker Society Sneaker of the Week. What's up, everyone? Shane here. And one thing you may not realize about me is that I am a total sneakerhead. That's right. I've been collecting Nike sneakers since the early 90s. My favorites are Air Max 95 and Air Max 97. Now, one thing that's different about me from your typical sneakerhead is that I actually wear the sneakers. And because of that, they can get dirty. And that is where New York Sneaker Society comes in. Using their advanced shoe cleaning products, I turned an old pair of Nikes that looked like this into this. With their cleaning products, your sneaker life can go from a year to 5 or more. I know that. I have shoes that are like 30 years old that I still wear because I've cleaned them. You can also lower your carbon footprint, by keeping your kicks looking fresh. For my daily drivers, I also appreciate New York Sneaker Society's Refresh Spray to keep them smelling great and staying crisp. Head to nysneakersociety.co/sifted to clean your shoes like a pro at home and get 10% off your order. That's right, that's nysneakersociety.co/sifted for 10% off. It's really, really important that you use that URL because if you do, you get 15% off your order, not 10%. So again, make sure you use nysneakersociety.co/sifted. And you get 15% off. If you buy one of the bigger packages that are like $40 or $50, that's significant savings, but it doesn't hurt to save 15% on one of the smaller $10 to $15 kits as well. Again, you will make your money back on either of the kits that you buy, no matter how much you spend, many times over. You will revive shoes that you thought that you had left for dead and you were thinking about throwing away. I'm telling you, New York Sneaker Society will save those sneakers. And other shoes as well. It's not just for sneakers. The cleaning materials that they give you will work on anything. Again, go to nysneakersociety.co/sifted to get 15% off your order. And one thing that we like to do with this sponsorship is we like to find really cool games that are flying under the radar. And with Not E3 happening this week, it was a tough decision to figure out which game to pick for our Sneaker of the Week. But I think you guys are all going to agree with me on this one because this game has really kind of taken off over the last week. It is a game called Killer Bean. Matt, have you seen this game?
Yeah, I've seen it. They look like little penises.
They do. Without the shaft.
Yeah. They look like little penis tips.
And I have a feeling that was the intent.
Probably part of the idea. This is like one dude making this.
It's one person making this game. It is insane that one person made this game. It really is crazy. And I just love that, again, they look like little penises or whatever. But he created this insane, like, violent action game where you're literally controlling a coffee bean. Like, this is one of the sleeper games from Not E3 2024 that everyone's talking about post-show. I said it was a hard decision. It kind of was, but not really. There's no other game like this one. I think right now it's only announced for PC officially, but the guy who's making it said that eventually it will come to consoles.
Just FYI, if this is, I mean, not necessarily penis beans, but if the new Saints Row had been like this, it would not have flopped.
No. That's a good point.
I don't mean everyone was a penis bean. I mean with all these weird bullets on all the weird ideas and
wacky.
This this is what Saints Row should have been.
No, you're right. They didn't go far enough, and it killed the franchise and killed the studio.
Killed the studio.
Oddly enough, but this game is just bonkers. It's all butt crack.
Choke slam.
I love this. Again, it's called Killer Bean. Right now, it's announced for PC. I think the release.
You can't hit a man who's breakdancing.
Doing
Everybody
windmills.
knows that.
Yeah.
They also kind of look like frogs a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think this is coming to early access this year, if I remember.
Yeah, soon, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if the final release will happen this year, but you think we'll all be able to play it here in the not too distant future. But it's just nuts that one person made it. I mean, it really shows you how far the tools have come, Matt.
Yeah.
That one person can make something like that. It's really incredible.
So even this off-the-shelf stuff is amazing.
It's really nuts. Yeah. So again, that's Killer Bean, made by one Killer Bean, coming to one platform, which is PC, but it'll come to consoles eventually. You have to be patient. All right, our final topic. We have to be quick.
Yeah. Where's between that and that time travel jump back to medieval times and roll a pickup truck through all the enemy knights?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the name of that game.
I never remember it either.
But I've had it wishlisted for months. So.
That one's awesome.
Bring it on.
Seriously. And they should do a crossover with that where the Killer Bean goes into them.
I think that would work just fine.
That'd be freaking great. Okay, on to our last topic, and we're going to have to really make haste to get through this because we're really running out of time. So legitimately, like a couple sentences on each one of these, we're going to talk about Summer Game Fest, which... on a certain level, I feel bad for Keil at this point because he really just had nothing.
Yeah, I skimmed through this so much I don't actually remember if I actually watched it.
Killer Bean was in there, and
I saw Killer Bean, so I must have seen that. I think I skimmed through it.
And I had to take one of the best games in Jeff's thing for the sneaker of the week, so it's even weaker actually when you get to it. First up, Lego Horizon Adventures.
Sure.
A Lego game starring Aloy from the Horizon franchise, PlayStation's Horizon franchise. The big thing here was that it's coming out on every other platform, which, Aloy on Switch is
I wonder how much
crazy.
of that was Lego.
Right, man, it's saying like, look, man, like, if we're going to give you this license, it needs to go on everything.
Yeah, well, because the purpose is to sell Lego sets.
Right,
so.
Yeah. Well, then you wonder, like, Nintendo has never really allowed stuff like this to happen in the past. It would always say, no, you need to put one of our characters in it for it to be on our platform, but it's relented. It's allowing Aloy to go on Switch.
Well, I wonder, I'm just looking at what, they have as far as licenses go. Like, where's the Mario Lego game?
Right.
That's probably crazy if you don't do Lego Nintendo.
I know. It's too easy. I mean, those Nintendo Lego sets sell like hotcakes. So, what do you think about the game?
Looks great.
Yeah, I mean, it's got like a world building element to it where you build this crazy hub, and I think it looks pretty awesome.
I'm always taken a little bit aback at how good Lego games look now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have the patience for them anymore because they're so long and sprawling and big and the same kind of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Like part of me would just rather just play Forbidden West on PC.
Right.
But like, no, it looks really cool. I think it looks cool. I think it's a neat way to represent this and maybe expose it to more people. It's a more family-friendly way to expose people to this franchise.
Yep.
Especially if you're planning to make a movie out of it.
Right.
So yeah, there's some synergy happening here.
Yep.
It's nice to see Aloy happy.
Yeah.
For once in a while. She's got a lot on her mind in the other games. In this one, she's got hot dogs and fun costumes, and because having more of a good time.
Yep. Next up, so Jeff's big get, he had a trailer for Star Wars Outlaws in there, but we already talked about that. We're not going to bring it up, but that was his biggest game, I think. Next up, Civilization 7. I'm a big Civ fan. Everyone's a big Civ fan, really. This trailer doesn't show anything.
It doesn't show anything. It's just like Civ 6 is such a good place. You're going to need to really knock this one out of the park to get me to jump.
It really is hard to wonder, like, what they need to do with each Civ game.
What are you doing with this that made you say, oh, Civ 6 isn't good? Because Civ 6 is great.
It's great.
I don't think it launched that great, but it's become great.
Yeah. So what's going to convince me to stop playing that and move over to this?
I don't know. It's like having. I feel like making Sims 5.
Yeah.
It's like, what's different?
Why?
Why do I have to throw away all my expansions?
Yeah. Can't you just make the graphics look better and like? Yeah.
Can't this numerical entry could have been a DLC.
Seriously.
There's an element of that to this.
Yeah, I feel that way too. He had the second trailer for Kingdom Come Deliverance. Story trailer, which was boring AF. This game is kind of boring AF.
I mean, it is a very dry game. I mean,
it's a decent get, but the trailer itself was just dull.
Yeah.
Like, your second trailer needs to be more exciting than this. Like,
The game just isn't.
I know. You know. I mean, that's really the problem. The source material you're working with.
Well, it's a problem. It's also sort of the appeal. Like, it's for a certain audience. It's for, you know, for the, I don't know, the Society of the Creative Anachronism Ren Fair crowd. And, like, it's, you know.
All those people.
If you've ever played a fantasy game and been like, this would have been great if I couldn't do anything cool in it. Like, that's basically what this is. You know? Magic. Who needs magic?
Yeah. This game's coming this year. Is that right?
Supposed to be this year,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed out of the year as well.
I mean, that looks cool. I'm interested to visit like some of the big cities that weren't in the first game, because like they do a pretty good job of recreating all that stuff. It's just mechanically the gameplay wasn't really very engaging, but like the historical stuff was fascinating. Like that was cool to see. You don't actually see that very often in games, probably because it's not that interesting.
People don't care. Yeah.
I will definitely walk around and look at this and poke around in Gutenberg, I think is the main city.
Well, they tried to put a lot of sex in this to try to get people, and lots of cleavage to try to get people interested in it. And the last 45 seconds of this trailer are pretty good.
Yeah, the combat still looks really mushy.
Yeah.
And like the first game really never figured itself out in that regard, and this doesn't look like it's really getting there either.
Doesn't look like it's changed.
But it is, again, much like State of Decay 2, although not on the same. There is nothing else like this.
Yeah, it is its own thing, and if you like it, you're gonna love it, and if you don't, leave it alone.
Yeah. This would be an excellent Game Pass game.
You're right. It's perfect for Game Pass. But I don't think it is.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Next, I think the most interesting and coolest thing in Jeff's Summer Game Fest is Slitterhead.
Oh, yeah, this did look interesting.
Gameplay trailer. I mean, the game itself technically doesn't look that awesome, but it has that the possession mechanic from, like, Geist in it. Except you can possess, like, anybody, like, on the fly.
The scope of it was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it made me wonder how ambitious this is in terms of the scope.
I didn't think this game was going to be like this at all. Like, I thought it was going to be like a horror adventure. Because it's like the guys leave the Silent Hill team. They're working on their first game without much of a budget.
Slitterhead makes it really feel like a Pyramid Head equivalent.
Right.
You feel, okay, you're going to be running from some monster. And
right. But no, this looks like a full-fledged, like...
You know, I mean, it's not very nice to say, but what this reminds me of is Driver San Francisco.
Really?
Remember that?
Vaguely.
Remember Driver San Francisco? Where you get killed at the beginning and you can possess anybody.
Oh, right.
And just jump from car to car and all that.
No, you're right. I forgot about that.
That was weird.
That was weird.
Very weird. That's what that made me think of, except in this you turn into like Beetlejuice creatures.
Or you just turn into like Joe Blow walking down the street.
Yeah, but sometimes these things become like the one thing's like striped like a sand snake or sandworm from Beetlejuice.
Yeah. But
I mean, at least it's It's different.
Right, it's interesting. This caught my eye. It made me pay attention to what was happening, which I cannot say for the vast majority.
Like, bloody Wolverine claws.
Right.
And all this. I mean, I remember it.
Right. And most of the stuff in Jeff's show, I do not remember at all.
No.
It just washed over me like a wave that I'll never remember. But anyway, Slitterhead is coming to most platforms. I don't have the release date down here, though.
Yeah, run to the end. It says it at the end.
Does it?
I thought so, yeah.
Well, let me just jump ahead here and see. I probably chopped it off. I chop off a lot of that stuff out of these trailers.
Don't you kill the dog.
I chopped it off.
Yeah.
But again, I thought the most interesting thing at Jeff's show. Another big get for Jeff, and maybe this is the biggest one, but probably not. Monster Hunter Wilds, a new trailer.
I mean,
for
in terms of sales, it probably is. This probably.
Well, I mean, he had Outlaws, so.
I think this is going to sell better than
really?
that. Yeah.
You think this will sell better than Star Wars Outlaws?
Monster Hunter's a beast.
I mean, it sells 10, 15 mil. I mean, it'll be close.
I think it'll sell. Yeah, I think it'll sell more.
Wow. What are you thinking of what you've seen of this? This game was blown out at not E3, by the way. It was at everything. They were putting out new trailers and interviews everywhere they went, man. It was almost like the Monster Hunter Wild show.
Well, that's unfortunate because my response is one word. Nope.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything that changes my mind about the franchise.
No.
Like, they're supposed to be, like, they travel in packs, and you can use the animals against each other. Like, you can lead
like, the aggressive ones into the packs, and they'll kill them instead of you, or they'll get tripped up by that. Yeah.
That changes things a little bit.
I get it, but I don't care. It's Monster Hunter, and I have no interest in playing Monster Hunter.
Until I see more of the combat, I'm going to keep my opinion reserved on this, because that's the X factor. Like, you never feel the combat in this franchise. So I really hope that that's what they've worked on a lot. They talked already about how they have like a targeting system so you can better target parts. That's an improvement though, Matt, because that's really frustrating about the other games.
It still looks like the same slow-ass, like, weird
wind up my 20-foot sword.
Wind up my 20-foot sword, hit you once, my stamina's gone, now I got to roll around for 4 minutes. I don't care. No, don't care. Like, the concept isn't interesting. The gameplay has never grabbed me. I found them irritating as hell most of the time to play. I don't like the idea of just like hunting monsters to kill them to make hats out of their scales. Like, none of it is interesting to me.
Yeah.
The Abram points out that Monster Hunter World sold 20 million copies.
Oh, it hit 20 million.
So
it will outsell.
I feel it will outsell Outlaws in the long run. Maybe not this year, but in the long run lifetime, I think
that's insane. By the way, that it sold 20 million.
If this one is as good as that. And it looks like it's a successor to that in a way that Rise just wasn't. It just started on the
Rise also sold like
Rise
15
sold very
million.
Well. Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It did great.
No, I think this thing's gonna blow the doors off the sales charts.
Yep.
Unquestionably. It's just not for me. It's just not. I'm no interest in it.
Next up, Phantom Blade Zero. This looks like the next Stellar Blade minus the TNA.
Yeah, which is
okay.
Fine. Yeah, sure. It does look like every other frickin' block
hack and
parry.
slash from Asia.
I'm so tired of
all
this
these
Dark
games,
Souls
Black Myth,
thing.
Wukong, they all just kind of bleed together.
Like, I could not tell you which one this is if you just showed me clips of it. Or you could mix it with Wukong and I wouldn't know.
Okay.
You'd mix the two games together.
Yeah. It could be good. I don't know. It looks pretty good, like, visually. Like, the combat looks... I haven't played it, but the combat looks pretty good on the trailers, but...
I guess, I don't know. Like, I just feel like I played it before, and I'm about to get like 30 hours of Elden Ring, and what do I give a shit about this?
Just played Shadow of... This is like, this is a PlayStation exclusive, I think. Console exclusive. See, there's just so many of these on PlayStation 5 right now. It's like, do we need another, like, Asian influence hack and slash? Like, do we need another Souls-like? I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's a market for this game, but we'll see. That's what he closed his show with.
It does look nice.
Yeah, the graphics look good. And I like the art, too. He closed his show with this. So there's obviously interest in it. Jeff has his finger on the pulse of all the metrics. So he would not have closed his show with this if people weren't into it.
It's definitely on the metrics of the people who watch his show.
Right. Which is a lot.
Yeah, so they say. I mean, was it 1.7 million at this point?
I think it was more than that for this, like 2 point something.
I don't know if I believe any of those numbers.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. People close the session, come back, it counts as another view. I mean, who knows? But the bottom line is You're getting
looking at multiple things, so you can get the drops and stuff. I don't know if there were drops on this thing, but I know there were on the TGAs and stuff.
Yeah. And then he showed Alan Wake 2 DLC, which was a shadow drop. It dropped that night.
Yeah, that's cool.
One other game I want to mention, Cairn. This game is pretty cool. It's a survival game cross with like a mountain climbing sim.
Yeah, I heard this wrong at first and thought it was Karen. It's like, it's like a really like meddling person climbing a mountain. Is that like...
you're yelling at the mountain the whole time.
It's the mountain's fault that handheld fell off.
Could you move that over there a little bit, please?
But that's like you're climbing this one. She's just behind you the whole time, like criticizing,
yelling at you and criticizing you. That would be really funny. No, it's called Cairn. And it's got a really cool cel-shaded look to it. I'm not a big survival...
See, she wants to see the mountain's manager.
Yeah, exactly. Can I see the manager of this mountain,
okay,
please?
Also, tip, you don't need to do push-ups at the end of climbing a mountain on the day. Like, you got your steps in.
But in a survival game, Matt, you have to. But I love the look of this game.
Yeah, it's got a nice look.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll like it.
I don't know about some of the joint physics on this.
Yeah, a little funky.
I want to tighten up the graphics on level 3 there a little bit.
Just dislocated her leg.
But the art style is very cool.
Yeah, and the concept is unique. So I'll give it a go.
Well, it reminds me of that one from last year where you're like...
Jusant,
yeah.
Yeah.
Although a little more grounded.
This is more the Jusant was more active, I think, than this is. And I liked the between parts in Jusant more than this, probably because I'm not a survival player. But whatever. And then Black Myth Wukong was the other one worth mentioning, and we already kind of talked about that. So I already gave the letter grade for Summer Game Fest. What's yours, Matt?
It's probably like a C.
Oh, wow. You're
C-.
kind of generous.
I mean, there's some stuff in there I was interested in.
Yeah, I think our overall was like either D+ or C- between me, Pac, and Marcus.
C- is probably where I land on them. It's not bad, but it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I kind of wondered if it needed to exist.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I forgot until I saw it on the rundown. I'm like, did I watch that? Was that? I mean, I don't remember watching this until you put some of that footage up. That had all left my head.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's not appointment viewing. So it's like when some of those come out, 100%. But the only one that I really like, if you said you can play this now today, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go to the computer right now. It'd be Killer Bean.
Yeah, I mean this one was really hard to tell where the content ended and the commercials started.
Well, I got spoilers for you. The whole thing is a commercial.
And the fans were even clapping during some of the commercials.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the difference between a trailer and an ad? They're both ads.
To
it's all
me,
commercials.
Usually the ads mean the game's already out.
Sometimes, yeah. Or an ongoing service sort of thing. Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know that show needs to exist.
There were several things like that in that where I'm just like, oh, this looks... Oh, it's an ongoing service. Oh, well. Like,
Jeff makes a F ton of money on it. It's going to keep happening. He already announced next year's already.
Well, now that we finally found out the pricing.
Right. It'll never end. Yeah. So there you go. That's not E3/Summer Game Fest. Now you've heard from everybody. You've heard from me on it. You heard from Pactor on it. You heard from Marcus on it. And now you've heard from Matt Keil.
We didn't talk about the Street Fighter thing.
Oh, you're right.
Because there is an element. It's not a huge thing, but so one of the announcements was that Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui from Fatal Fury and King of Fighters are going to be in the next season of Street Fighter 6.
Yep.
This is the first time, Maximilian Dude pointed this out too, this is the first time a guest character has ever appeared in a Street Fighter game.
Wow.
In a mainline Street Fighter game. Every single other instance of this has been a versus side thing or whatever. The fact that the Fatal Fury characters are in this is stunning.
It did shock me. I'll say.
The fact that it is a mainline numbered Street Fighter is going to have guest characters.
It had to be Terry, though.
Stunning.
Who else could it have been?
It got to be Terry. Yeah. I bet we might see more in the future.
Yeah, which is cool. The dam is now open.
And also, you're warming up maybe to a collection of the Capcom versus SNK games, which would be great because they don't exist on modern consoles at all.
Yeah.
And if that opens the door to another SVC or CVS game, amazing. Like to see those characters fight, because those, there were several Capcom versus SNK games back in the day.
I mean, maybe this is it though. This is how it's going to work.
Could be, but there's more. The Capcom versus SNK, some of them went real weird, like getting Mars people in there,
right?
And some of the obscure Capcom characters and stuff. They could get real wonky with it if they wanted to, and that'd be nice. Because between that and the collection of MVC, makes me wonder what Capcom's got cooking. And I haven't wondered what Capcom's had cooking in the fighting game department for a very long time.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's good to see.
Okay, cool.
It's also just good to see them willing to talk to SNK.
Yeah.
Because I wondered for a while, and Maximilian Dude pointed this out too, when they started releasing on Switch, Match of the Millennium, the Neo Geo Pocket Capcom SNK crossovers. And you're like, okay, so both of them need the permission to do, they have to have both permission to do that, so it means Capcom and SNK are talking to each other, which hadn't happened in almost 15 years.
Wow.
So something's up.
Yeah.
That's
hopefully
exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Probably get something out of that before we get Beyond Good and Evil remastered, tell you that much.
Yep. Okay, well that's it for the content in this episode, but of course we have one more thing. Matt, somebody pointed out to me this week on Twitter. I was back on Twitter trying to get help building my PC. It was the first time I had been on Twitter in 6 months. And it was very helpful. It was nice to use Twitter for something good for once. But somebody pointed out to me that someone has stolen Name That Game from us.
Oh, yeah?
Some other gaming website. Not only did they steal the idea, they call it Name That Game. Literally. And the funny part is whoever tweeted it to me CC'd the person who's ripping us off. And I didn't even address them. I was like, well, imitation is the finest form of flattery. However, it would be nice if he could have at least come up with his own freaking name for it. He just blatantly ripped off our idea, which, okay, everybody did it.
You at least call it Spot That Shot or something. Might be too much for
everybody imitated, has imitated our fantasy draft and everything else,
I would think the fantasy draft you'd want credit for more.
Yeah, because it's a bigger thing.
Bigger thing and more of a, I think, naming a game from a screenshot isn't a super creative.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think I'm a genius for coming up with it.
But the Fantasy League thing is a much more involved idea.
Yeah, and then having to actually
and much harder
make
to
it
claim
happen.
Much harder to claim you came up with it on your own.
That's true. Yeah.
Separate from having seen your version.
That's true.
Because I can believe someone would come up with name that game on their own.
Yeah.
Fantasy League, I feel like anyone doing a Fantasy League, that traces back to you.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, it's time for Name That Game, where I show you guys 5 screenshots from a video game, and you have to name the game. Now, the screenshots get more obvious as they go. We want you guys to win because we give away a free PC game if you do. One thing I should mention, the person who won for episode 390 has still not reached out to me for your free game. So do that. Send me a DM anywhere. You can get to me on Twitter, on SIFTD.
If you don't pick the game up in 90 days, we post the code on Twitter.
Maybe.
We print it out on a piece of paper and Shane eats it.
But anyway, get at me and we'll get you your free game. I haven't heard from you yet. But anyway, you do win a free PC game. So if you don't play PC games or you don't know somebody who plays PC games, please don't play. Also, if you've won already this year, please don't play. You can only win once every calendar year. And then the final thing is the chat goes into slow mode while we play this. So if you want to just start guessing, be careful because the next screenshot may come up. You may know what it is, and you've already burned your one chat every 60 seconds, and you won't be able to win. So show a little bit of restraint when guessing because the next screenshot you could get it, and you may go to type and you'd be like, I don't have enough time. So just things to keep in mind before we play. And I think with that, we're ready to get going. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Here is the first screenshot for Name That Game. Hybrid Heaven, no. Body Harvest, no.
It does look familiar. I think I'm looking at a PS2 game.
Metal Gear Solid 3, no.
Doesn't look good enough to be Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah. Final Fantasy X, no. Ocarina of Time, no. Monster Hunter 2018, no. StarCraft 2, no. Is that a paper airplane? I don't know.
Oh, I see what he's like. Yeah, I think that's just smeared ground texture.
Maybe.
It's that, I think he's like.
Oh.
Yeah. In the upper right, kind of.
Shadow of the Colossus, no. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, no. Pokemans, no. MGS3, no. Too quick Capri picked up on you there. Xenoblade Chronicles, no. Phantasy Star Online Dreamcast, no. That's a good guess.
Monster Hunter Tries a good
That's a good guess, too. But no. That's Draylox. That's who is helping me on Twitter. Thank you, Draylox. I owe you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to help me.
It's not KOTOR.
KOTOR, no. Nope. Blood on the Grass, no. Punch Out, no. Donkey Kong Country, no, but that would be pretty clever.
It does kind of look like Donkey Kong 64,
a little bit.
But it's not. I don't think it's smeary
enough. It's not smeary enough
to be an N64 game.
Grandia 2, no.
Oh, Grandia 2 is a good guess. Yeah, I know that ground. I can't quite piece it together.
All right. Well, maybe the next screenshot. Any more guesses?
Soul Reaver.
No. Going once. Nier. No. Going once. Going twice. All right, we're on to the second screenshot. In 3, 2, 1. Final Fantasy 8, no.
Final Fantasy 12.
No. No guesses? Uh-oh. Silent Hill 2, no. 2 Silent Hill 2s. Look at that. Back to back. I'm just, Vincent, I'm interested in getting past the second image. Ground textures usually make it happen. Dragon's Dogma, no. Uncharted, no. Ratchet and Clank, no. Another guess of Final Fantasy X, no. Last of Us, no. Best username ever is the Boomer.
Rise of the Kasai.
No. Wow. Nier, no. Any more guesses on the second image? Shenmue, no. That's a pretty good guess.
I would know that.
We have this is so freaking awesome. We have a winner, and it is freaking Draylox. That is just freaking perfect. It is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I don't know how you got that from those 2 screenshots, but you deserve it, Draylox.
Well,
wow.
I was right. It was a PS2 era hardware.
Pretty much, yeah. That is awesome, Draylox. Wow. That is just how it's supposed to work right there, man. Yes, it was The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I'll show you the other screenshots here. Here's a third one.
I would have, yeah, the wolf.
Yep.
The wolf leg.
Yep. Here's the fourth one. And then here's the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the last one. 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 And then here's the l If you look to the left there, the Hylian shield is actually in the shot there. Wow, that is awesome, Dreylox. Dude, that's so great. I'm so happy for you, man. That is amazing. See, sometimes it does come back around, man. Sometimes you do good stuff for people and you get rewarded for it. And how crazy is it that happened right away? You didn't have to help me, man. You jumped in. You went back and forth with me over and over again trying to help me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll give you another round of applause. Wow. My faith in, I don't know if humanity is the right word to use, but karma maybe, was just re-upped. That is just incredible. Awesome job, man. So, Dreylox, get back to me. You know how to reach me, obviously, on Twitter. So you can DM me there. You can DM me on SIFTD. I'm at Shane. You know how to get at me. You can DM us here. And again, the person who won last week, please don't forget to reach out to me as well so I can get you your game. The other thing, Dreylox, the way we do it is when you reach out to me, give me your Steam name. Because what happens is we need to become friends on Steam so I can gift you the game. So include your Steam name whenever you reach out to me, and then we'll become friends on Steam, and then I can gift you the free game. And that's how it kind of works out. So we'll find other ways. If you don't have Steam or don't want to have Steam, we'll figure out another way. But that's the way it's worked for most people. With that, that's GameFace 391. Matt, great to get your takes on all the not E3 stuff. We really, I wish we had more time, honestly, because there's a bunch of games I wanted to hear what you thought of that we kind of brushed over, unfortunately. Some of the smaller stuff.
They'll come around eventually.
Yeah. But good to get back doing GameFace again. Missed it last week. Hopefully you guys did too. Good to be back doing the show. And again, there is a chance that this show goes up tonight. We'll see if my new PC can grind through this episode and we can get it up tonight. You guys will know, obviously, by following our Twitter feed whenever we post that the show is up for our patrons. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for your support through Not E3, Summer Game Fest. You guys were very kind with the comments about the shows that we did with Marcus and Pactor. And we are talking with Marcus about trying to do something with him. But we just don't, I'll just be honest with you, we don't have the money to do it. So this is the thing. It's like when we introduce new stuff to you guys and you like it and you want to keep it going, you might want to head over to patreon.com/sifted and give us a pledge, because then we're like, hey, we have money. We can pay Marcus to do stuff. That's how this all works, people. And I'll just be honest with you. After this weekend, we lost patrons. How? How does that happen? And everybody loved it. They all love the shows. Thanks, Shane. And then we lose patrons. Our patrons went down. I don't get it. Anyway, if you don't have money, and it seems like none of you have money, so if you don't, you can still help us with Twitch Prime. Those numbers have also been way down for the last like 3 or 4 months in a row. It's free. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, and Matt, I'm telling you, I may actually drop Amazon Prime because I ordered all these parts for my computer. Like, they didn't deliver them for like 4 days. I'm like, what am I paying for? And then I totally forgot that if you buy something over $35, you get free shipping anyway. If you're not a Prime member. I'm like, what am I paying for? And now I have to watch ads when I watch shows on Amazon Prime? What the F? So anyway, I'm second guessing my Amazon Prime subscription. If you're not and you're going to stick around, you can give us a free $2.50 every month for nothing. It costs you nothing if you're a subscriber already. And if you're watching on YouTube, down below they instruct us to do that. If you've linked your accounts once, it takes 3 seconds. And even if you do have to link your accounts, it takes 5 minutes the first time, and then it takes 3 seconds. So that'd be great if you guys could do that. And if you can't do that, you're not an Amazon Prime subscriber, you're listening to it on the podcast services or on YouTube, review the show. Like, on podcast services, give us a great review. On YouTube, leave a comment. Love the show. Greatest podcast ever. Shane and Matt are awesome. It doesn't matter what you write. It's just the engagement, because then we bubble up in search with the algorithms on YouTube, and you can make a difference for us. We'd appreciate any of it. So thanks to you guys again. All the positive words, even though financially nothing worked out through Not E3. Sometimes encouragement is good. When you work by yourself, you don't really get it. Like, that's the worst part of this for me, is like, I don't have anyone to bounce anything off of. I don't know if I do a good job or a bad job or an okay job. It's just like, I just keep doing the job. It's really weird. I've never been in this position in my life. I don't get my annual review from somebody to say, you kicked ass this year. This doesn't happen. So anyway, lots of ways you can help us. We'd appreciate any of them. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll be back next Tuesday right here at twitch.tv/SIFTedGames. Until then, have a great week filled with great games. Are people going to go to play Erd Tree before next week?
Yeah, it should be in a couple days.
Yeah, a couple days, yeah. So have fun with that. I'm not joining you.
It's Friday, I think.
Yeah. So have yourselves a great week. GameFace is up and out.